5, 4, 3. Hi, everybody. Dugroz here with Dugroz Reports. Welcome to my Saturday live stream, Saturday morning live stream. Happy to see each one of you on board this morning. Today is Saturday, May the 24th, 2025, and I'm reporting live from my house. Let's go around the horn and just see who's on board this morning. We got Mike Newland, my Santa Claus from last week. Tom Graber has arrived, and right away we've got our first donation. Tom donates one Dugroz Reports membership. Celebrate. Thank you, Tom. That's just as good as a $3 super chat. Nuracan71 is here from Los Angeles. Good to see you. Jazz Fan 27. Ian's looking for me. Do we think he's okay? Yeah, I'm okay. Matt Clausen is here. Ian and Matt are both diehards. David Gomez says, Dugroz, since I became a member last week, I saw all of your members only videos. I think there's 40. That's correct. There are over 40. 40 standalone video. If you count members only live streams, and there's a couple dumb like shorts videos that are just pranks or bloopers. I think if you include those, there's over 50. Ian says somebody released the hounds while he was walking to the stream. Release the hounds. Robert Jarrell is here for once. Awesome. Glad to have you here. John is here and says Dugroz needs TSA pre-check. Rewards Master is here. Mojo, Austin Strand, Shadow Frost, and Kirby have all arrived. 27 people on board. Please click the thumbs up button. That'll drive more people in to watch this, both live and after the fact. But no point in delaying. Let's go ahead and dive into our Dugroz data points. This is any sort of points, miles, tips, tricks, anything that I just think is relevant or should be discussed in the world of points and miles. Number one, hat tip to Doctor of Credit. US Bank has some cash back deals. These are like card linked offers. Get 15% back at home improvement stores, a maximum of $15 cash back. I know Lowe's sells gift cards. I know Home Depot sells gift cards. I know Fleet Farm sells gift cards. Although one time I got the impression Fleet Farm might not code as home improvement. So do your own research on that one. So, say you buy a $100 hotels.com gift card or Airbnb gift card, get it for $85. That's not so bad. So that's something worth considering. Now, I did try to find this morning and got a little frustrated. Where in the world do you go to activate your deals for US Bank? It seems like when I see it, it's just completely random. You go under the rewards center when logged into desktop. I couldn't find anything close on the app. Click on shopping and it says cashback deals, but it kept asking me to log in. And it was just this infinite loop where every time I went to cashback deals, it asked me to log in. So if somebody has a good tip on US Bank and how to access their cashback deals, let me know. Kevin Hawthorne has arrived from Lakeland, Florida. Good morning, Kevin. Next data point here. We had talked last week about the Strata Premier from Citi reducing their cash payouts from 1 point equals a penny to 1 point equals 0.75 cents. So a devaluation of a full 25%. Doctor of Credit is reporting, and they give a hat tip to Dan's Deals, verified that if you have a double cash or a custom cash linked to the same thank you account, it will continue to be 1 cent per point even after August 24th. Now, do I have some degree of skepticism about that? Yes, I do, Kent. Just not 100% sure it's going to work, but at least, they're reporting some good news in that regard. Speaking of, before I move on to the next data point, again, thumbs up would really help. We're up to 35 people. I like to get that up around 45, 50 before I get into the main event, if at all possible. So do that. Robert says, just scroll down the US Bank app. They are there. I tried that this morning and it just wasn't showing for me. I don't know if it's because I have a business card or what, but I hope it works for all of you. I'll keep digging and trying to figure it out. Speaking of Citi and their data points, an important update to your Rewards Plus account. I got this email earlier this week. We're updating the look and name of your card and adding a new benefit. Anytime someone says they're adding new benefits, that's often bad news. So thanks for being a valued Citi Rewards Plus card member. Starting on July 20th, we're introducing changes to your account. The Citi Rewards Plus card will change to the Citi Strata card. I think that's like registered trademark, but it just didn't come out quite right. So yes, let's look at some details on this. Here's a hat tip to frequent miler where they're going to comment on it a little bit more. Citi is replacing the Rewards Plus card with the Strata card, not Strata Elite, not Strata Premier, just Strata card. And there is some news about this. Of course, we know that the Rewards Plus card has that useful 10% rebate on up to the first 100,000 points redeemed of thank you rewards every year. Not anymore. Unfortunately, the new card will not have that 10% roundup feature. What will it have? Well, it'll include no annual fee, 5x on hotels, rental cars, attractions through the portal, 3x on supermarkets, 3x on transit, gas, and EV, and 3x in one category of your choosing, which could be fitness clubs, what's this say? Streaming services, live entertainment, cosmetic, barbershops, hair salons, or pet supply stores. None of those are real useful for me. And I guess if I was like an ordinary person, a normie, and I only had one card, that could be useful. But for most of us in the community, we already have at least one card that gets 3x on gas, supermarkets, and then these categories aren't that great. So boo Citi. What crazy thing did Citi do this week? This does not increase my confidence in Citi as an issuer because they're trimming back on benefits. A lot of people have speculated this is in anticipation of bringing on board American Airlines as a transfer partner. I can't predict the future. I don't know if that's true or not, but yeah, don't like that. So I'm going to have to make a decision at some point on what to do with my old Rewards Plus card. Matt says, Strata's a fine card as a new card, as in like, if I was getting it for the first time, and no annual fee card, it kind of competes halfway decently with like the American Express Blue Cash every day. It's not quite as good as the Wells Fargo autograph in my book, but it's still, it's okay. Jay Chain says, good morning, y'all. I got a 9-hour road trip ahead of me today, so this live stream came at the right time. Glad to hear it. Matt says they're replacing Rewards Plus, and I don't think they're done. I agree. Chad's Money Minutes has arrived. Says, yo, how you doing, Chad? Good to see you. Rewards Master says, I'm going to try to product change my Rewards Plus to a third custom cash. Not sure if they will allow. Is not the move, says Matt. Not exactly sure what that means, but that's okay. All right, let's move on to the next Dugroz data point here. And this is a personal data point, although it's a pretty broad data point, I'd say, that could impact a lot of people. And this is about Hilton. Oh, before I mention that, I should talk about what our theme of the day is today. We're going to be talking about a new method that I have for choosing the cards in your wallet. What are you going to use for your everyday spend? And I call it the PATH method, P-A-T-H. And that stands for something. You'll have to stick around to see what it stands for. And the idea is we're working backwards from your goals to select the cards. It's a very educated way of doing it as opposed to random. And I'm going to use Hilton as my example. So if one of my goals is to get a lot of Hilton points, how can I use the PATH method to get Hilton points for everyday spend? Robert says, I'm like you. I think my Citi thank you cards are getting the axe when the annual fee and the Premier rolls up in August. I'm giving them till the end of this calendar year is my current feeling. I might change my mind, but if they can't do something to retain me by the end of this calendar year, they might be gone. Next Dugroz data point here. So I've got a screenshot here of a reservation that I had made at a hotel in New York City. I had mentioned several times previously, I want to stay at this Graduate by Hilton, which is on Roosevelt Island. It's that island in the East River, not too far from the Brooklyn Bridge where that Mexican ship slammed into it. That was tragic, not too many days ago. But anyhow, the only hotel on Roosevelt Island, and I was going to use it as the hotel we stay in between our repositioning flight and heading over to Europe. With that in mind, I was kind of, I booked 2 rooms. And one thing I love about Hilton is the guaranteed connecting rooms. That's what this little symbol means. So we got a 2-queen room. We got a king room, perfect for our family. I was booking this to kind of like hold the slot. I wasn't planning to actually pay for it in cash. I was going to later change it over to something with points, a mixture of points and a free night certificate. This past week, I finally got around to calling up Hilton and tried to do that. And there was a couple disappointing things. Now, I don't know if this was just the representative was uneducated or not. I said, I have an existing reservation and I've got a basic question, then an advanced question. The basic question is, can I take my existing reservation and change it so that one of the two rooms are on a free night certificate and the other one is still a connecting room, but not a free night certificate? The first thing she said is, no, we would have to cancel the reservation and do a whole new reservation. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure I got the last double queen room, so I don't love the sound of that. Is there a way you can hold it like a guarantee for sure while you do the change? She was like, I'm not sure. What's your second question? I said, well, can I use one room with points and one room with a free night certificate? And she said, no, you can't do that either. Anytime you use a free night certificate, you have to do a standalone separate reservation. So it's impossible to get guaranteed connecting rooms. And I'm like, are you flipping kidding me? 0 for 2. And yeah, that was really disappointing because not the whole reason, but reason number one with a bullet why I like Hilton so much is because of the guaranteed connecting rooms. With our family, that's really important. You know, we've got 2 kids. Yes, they're teenagers. I've said before, one of my boys has type 1 diabetes. So it's very rare, but every once in a while there could be an emergency in the middle of the night. So the idea of like having to go out into the hall, get into a new room, hope the key works. So like is scary. So the only thing that like meets the privacy desires, everybody having their own bed, is connecting rooms. And Hilton's the only major chain that guarantees connecting rooms. If we can't get connecting rooms, then one of us has to sleep in the room with our kids, and ain't nobody got time for that. So I was very disappointed to find out that you don't have the option of keeping connecting rooms on a Hilton stay that you're using the free night certificate on. So that really kind of diminishes the value of the free night certificate with Hilton for me. If anybody knows a workaround on that, let me know. And then as if that weren't bad enough, the third strike was I was saying, okay, fine, I'll just cancel this and rebook with points. And I had a double queen room, but I noticed when I went and looked on their website for the days that I needed, the queen wasn't available. So I thought, well, if I cancel it, it'll go back into inventory and then I can book it right away. And I tried that. Guess what? It didn't go back into inventory. I checked a few minutes later. I checked like an hour later. I checked later that day. I checked the next day. A 2-queen room, a basic 2-queen room, which you can book with points at a reasonable rate, never came up again. So I don't know if there was like a backflow or what they call it, but yeah, it just didn't work for me to do the Hilton the way I wanted to do it. So a little bit of a knock on Hilton. You cannot combine a free night certificate with a guaranteed connecting room. And then there was some aftermath of that with that phone call. And I've had this happen with Hilton before. They say if you listen to a special offer, they'll give you 500 bonus points. Well, the representative said, and just for being a loyal member of calling in today, I'm going to give you 500 bonus points. Okay. And I'm like, hey, okay, thank you. Stay tuned. You need to listen to this transfer. Like, that was a little misleading because you aren't just giving me 500 points. You're making me listen to a presentation. And I was working that day. I was kind of in a hurry. So when the other person came out and said, hey, you'll get the 500 points no matter what, but I would like to tell you about our special offers this month, which is basically to do a timeshare or to go to a timeshare is all it is. And I just said, I'm sorry, sir. I'm in a hurry. I can't listen to this right now, and just hung up. But they gave me the points anyway. So I guess moral of the story is if they say that you have to listen to a presentation, wait until they transfer the call, wait till the person picks up, and then just hang up and you'll still get the 500 points. Is that bad behavior? I'm not sure, but I thought it was at least worth mentioning. Let me catch up on the comments a little bit here. I got behind just a little bit. Matt says, to the rewards master, data points online mention people are being denied the reward plus as a product change to custom cash. I did see one person say that. And he also says, I'm about 60 to 75% convinced now custom cash is next to be reformatted. To the Strata Select. Interesting. Is that one of their trademark names? Boy, Yuri G will have a small heart attack if that happens. TM Cowling says, weren't they only allowing a product change to the free AA card? That seems weird. Thanks for the info. Clairvoyant says, if the custom cash is true, the value of PayPal debit goes way up. That's true. Matt says, it doesn't really, only if you like prepaying your rewards. I do like prepaying my rewards, at least in this case. Clairvoyant says, 500 LOL, ask for 2K at least, and they'll sell you the timeshare and a cruise. Yeah, but I don't want to actually do the timeshare thing. I just want to listen. Kirby says, I wholeheartedly listened to an HGV offer. No 500 points for me. Oh, bummer. Sorry about that, Kirby. Not sure why they must like me more. Hey, 49 people on board. We did briefly cross 50 and then came back down. So please continue hitting the thumbs up button. Last week, we had Mike Newland donate a whole bunch of channel memberships, and Ian MK did as well. So I thought it would be worth mentioning that anything you donate to the channel, whether it's a super chat, super sticker, or a donated membership, 80% of that helps me reinvest in my channel. I'm going to be getting a whole new computer desk setup here in the near future, better phone, better. I don't need a better camera for this, but for like taking pictures out in the field, I do. And upgrade StreamYard to the paid version, hopefully, so I can get rid of that avatar in the corner and get a wider screen. And then also 20% goes to support my family, because this is sort of like a part-time job. So I figure they deserve to reap some of the rewards of whatever I earn on YouTube. The other thing I was going to mention, at least briefly, was that, well, I'll come back to that part later. So yeah, super chats, super stickers, all very much appreciated. Donated memberships. That went really well last week. So you might be wondering, with that Hilton on Roosevelt Island not available, what am I going to do? Well, I did book a different Hilton that's not as favored. It's the Hilton Brooklyn or something like that. It's okay as a backup, but I think my letter A plan will be this guy right here. And yeah, you're thinking, whoa, a Wyndham, Doug? What's wrong with you? I don't think anything's wrong with me. I think sometimes Wyndham can be sneaky good. This is the Wingate by Wyndham, Long Island City. And I looked on Google Maps. This is rated somewhere around 4.3 stars, which is pretty decent. I read through the reviews. None of them just stuck out like a sore thumb. Sometimes you'll see reviews online that are just dumb. Like, it was the best breakfast I've ever had. It was quiet. It was clean. It was comfortable. But the concierge didn't give me a friendly greeting. It's like that episode of Seinfeld where Kramer goes to a bank, and if they don't say hello, you get $100. And he says, hey, you didn't say hello. So they dock him from like a 5-star to a 3-star. I'm like, it's nice to get a friendly greeting, but if it's just, hello, sir, how are you today, in a robotic voice, and everything else about the stay is perfect, I'm still going to give him 5 stars. So, yeah, so that was actually a good value. They do have connecting rooms. There's no way to guarantee it online, but it says connecting rooms. So what I'm going to do is call them about a week before our stay and request it. There was also a place online where you could put it in the comment section. So I'm hoping that works. If we have to have one night where we don't get to, the missus and I sleep in the same room, we'll make it, I guess. But the value is the very impressive part. So this is the cash amount for one room, $258.56 per night. And because I have one of the Wyndham credit cards, I have the business variety. It's normally 15,000 points per night, but I get a 10% discount. So I was charged 13,500 per night. So when you do the math, that comes out to 1.915 cents per point. So almost 2 cents per point. Not quite. So yeah, I think Wyndham can be sneaky good. And I'm thinking about doing a video in the future about Wyndhams in general and like the secret value you can get. You know, a lot of people think of Super 8s and Days Inn, but there's a lot more to it than just that. Hey, Robert Jarrell drops a super sticker of $2.99. Celebrate. Thank you, Robert. I really appreciate that. Robert says, I finally went online and renewed a bunch of channel memberships. Pity you can't do it on the app. Interesting. Thank you for renewing your membership and being a diehard. I appreciate that. Clairvoyant says, I purchased the cruise and timeshare experience. This must be through Hilton. $400, 404 night stay. I'm guessing that's just supposed to be 4-night stay, not 404 night stay. $400, 4-night stay in Las Vegas and a 4-night cruise on Royal Caribbean plus 175,000 Hilton points. Ooh, that might be worth doing even if you just take the points and run for a 4-night stay. Yeah, that is pretty amazing. Tim McDonald, San Francisco 49ers fan. I almost did a screenshot of Brock Purdy with his family and a sheet cake celebrating his contract extension. Tim says, at Hilton, do you get the food credit on both rooms? I had an issue with that in the past. Interesting. Yeah, I've got it on both rooms before. I've never had an issue with that. I'm sorry you did. Ian says, when I see those stupid reviews that aren't relevant, I make sure to call them out in my review. That's a good idea. Robert says, the Hilton food credit is per person on the reservation. Always add at least a second name. Absolutely. So I put my wife's name on every reservation, whether or not she's able to go. Hello, team, says Dimitri G. Austin, the Florida man, says, Hyatt seems to be the value option for me. That's true. Mertz Points a Mile said, are you exploring the city during this New York City layover stay? If not, I would think a hotel as close as possible to the airport would be preferred, even if it is more expensive. We got one moderately close to the airports, plural. It's one of those fly into LaGuardia, fly out of JFK. So we don't have a ton of options. But yeah, we aren't crossing into Manhattan. We're going to stay on Long Island, if that's what you're wondering. Not going to do much exploring. I consider driving out to the Teddy Roosevelt grave, but it's just too far away. Jay Chain says, sorry, a few minutes behind on the live stream, but wondering if you think the Wells Fargo autograph is better than the new Strata card. Is it just 1 cent per point versus 0.75? I do think the autograph is a little better. I just like Wells Fargo a little better. Citi probably has better transfer partners, so it depends if you're using it as a standalone or not. So if we're thinking standalone card, you're not combining with another card, then yeah, I think the autograph is a little bit better. It's got the broad travel, so you could buy an airline ticket and get 3x, the transit-y stuff. Hey, Sam K's here. Hello, everyone. Good to see you, Sam. Hope you're having a good afternoon over there in jolly old England. All right, got to blow my nose here, then I'll get to the next data point. And this data point ties right in with the previous data point. Right now, you can buy Wyndham points for as low as 0.81 cents each. And this is one of those things where it's pseudo targeted, but in my case, I always get the maximum on the targeted. So maybe they just like me. I don't know. But if we think about that stay where I'm getting 1.9 cents per point, if you take 1.9 divided by 0.81, that's 2.34. So 2.34 cents per point. Even if you just buy, you're more than doubling your value. So there's another way I think Wyndham can be good. Now, I bought some points in the past. I don't necessarily need them, so I don't know that I'm going to buy this time around, but I do like Vacasa. I like cottages.com in England. So yeah, Wyndham does have a lot of appeal to me. And then I actually missed this one. This is from a little ways back on the 18th. So this was this past Sunday. I guess I technically didn't miss it. Right now, you can transfer your Citi thank you points if you're still using the custom cash to Wyndham at a 25% bonus. That's 1 to 1.25. Now, if you have the Strata Premier or the grandfathered Citi Strata Prestige, you can get 1.25 for every one you get. Remember that with the other credit cards, this is one of their junior transfer partners. So the normal transfer ratio is 1 to 0.8. So in this particular case, I only have the Rewards Plus and the Strata. No, I have the Rewards Plus and the custom caches right now. So normally I would be transferring 1,000 points becomes 800 Wyndham points, but the 25% bonus is just, it makes it into 1-to-1 right now. So not quite as lucrative, but something worth considering. Robert says the autograph has complete travel plus transit. the only one except Chase until they ruin that. With Citi, it takes 2 cards. The autograph journey also lacks transit. So yeah, I think what did we say? The Strata card has transit, gas, and EV, but it does not have travel. So like you should be able to buy like a subway ticket, or probably Amtrak would code as transit, or Ubers. But if you want to buy a plane ticket or a hotel, you're only going to get 1x with the new Strata card. Whereas the autograph, you're going to get the full 3x. So I do think autograph is a better standalone card. If you want to argue full ecosystem, Citi probably has a little bit of an edge right now just because they have more transfer partners. 56 people on board. Please keep clicking the thumbs up button there. All right, let's get back into the topic about like gifts to the channel and those kind of things. So last week, Mike Newland was my Santa Claus and donated over 80 or right at 80 channel memberships. Ian donated 20. A few people donated a few others. So I actually cleared over 105 memberships, something like that. And yeah, so there's a little spike here. Can you guess which day that is? That was the day. So $261 in earnings. Now, like I said, it was over 100 memberships, $3 per membership. So that would be at least $300. YouTube does take a cut of that. I was pleased that I still got $261. I haven't really mastered it, but just from what I've figured out, the amount of the cut that's taken is anywhere from like 20% to 50%, depending on what was donated and the method in which it was donated. The most important thing is that you guys are generous, and I really appreciate that. But I was pleased that it only took like 20-ish% away, not the full 50%. But if you have an easy way to do it and you're giving, it seems like if you give on a desktop device, I don't think this applies to memberships, but at least with super chats and super stickers, on a desktop device, it takes a lower cut than it does on a mobile device, especially Apple. I've heard iPhones somehow, Apple has, of course, a backdoor deal to take like an extra 20% or something. So if you have the choice, giving on a desktop's a little better than giving on a laptop. And then, hey, right on cue, Ian says, thanks for sharing the data. You're welcome, Ian. So you'll notice I really appreciate it, Ian, who gave a $2 super chat. Celebrate. Thank you. I know Ian has asked before, like how much I made in a month. That $532 in estimated revenue that they think I'm going to make by the end of May, that's based on current trends. So it's not a guarantee. It's just kind of what they're thinking. Doug, you would have made an excellent cam girl. I don't even know what a cam girl is. Ian says, LOL. Sam says YouTube takes 30% of every super. Yeah, super chats and super stickers. That's true. And then the cell phone provider will take a little cut on top of that, disfortunately. I thought about doing like buy me a coffee or something offline, but that's not as fun to celebrate. I might add that in someday. We'll have to wait and see. Thank you to those who have given support, whether it's now or in the future. And you can always do it after the fact too. It's called a super thanks if you do it after the live stream is over. It's time for the Draz Eats segment of the week. Today's Draz Eats is from the Hy-Vee Deli. So I've eaten at Hy-Vee many times. I've never had the meatloaf before. That's quite a zoom in. So I wasn't sure if I would like it. It was like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So I was like, it's been on the warmer a while. Some of the edges were not as good, but once I got into the meaty middle, it was very good. So we have meatloaf, a roll. We've got some creamy mac and cheese. We've got a mashed potatoes and gravy, a little pepper on top. You like the pepper? I think I'm mixing 2 different SNL skits together there. Yes, I was eating this in my car. I put like a towel down over my lap because I'm kind of a slob sometimes. So there's your Dugroz Eats segment of the week. Hy-Vee Deli meatloaf. Robert says, clairvoyant, there's an image I need to get out of my head. Doug being a cam girl. I still don't know what that means, and I apologize that I don't know what it means. All right, 3 more, and then we're wrapping up the Dugroz data points here. The Chase Aeroplan card, hat tip to Matt Clausen for pointing this out and getting my attention, is up to a 75,000 point offer, and hat tip to Doctor of Credit for pointing it out. The 75,000 point offer is back, and basically you get 75,000 points after spending $4,000 is what I believe. So that's a pretty good offer. You know, I have explained before that If you have the card, you get a 10% bonus. They sometimes have 20% transfer bonuses. So if you're patient, you can wait for that. And then you use pay yourself back at 1.25 cents per point. It's the equivalent of 1.625 cents per point. So I'm going to take the $750 in value times 1.625, and that comes out to $1,218. So yeah, a $95 annual fee, $1,200 in value on the sign-up bonus. If you manipulate it correctly, not too shabby. Several people have asked me if I have a refer a friend link. Unfortunately, Aeroplan is one of the few chase cards that for whatever reason does not have a refer a friend link. So I appreciate it, but there's nothing I can do. If you appreciate Frequent Miler as much as I do, go out to them and use their link to apply for it. At least they'll get a little bit of a commission on that. All right, last two screens here. This is a chat that I had with American Express. And so back when I went to Albany in late April, this was more than 3 weeks ago now, you'll remember the saga of the worst seat ever in premium economy on Delta. I had to pay $70 to choose that seat, but it was a literal seat upgrade in Delta. Delta is my chosen airline. This is the business platinum card, my wife's business platinum card, but it just never credited. And I still had some left. I had at least $60 left. So I said, why isn't this posting? It's been 3 weeks. And Ryan, the chat agent, said, the benefit of the $200 airline fee is offered against certain incidental charges that are made directly with the preferred airline, including, and they list off some different options, one of which is seat assignment fee. But he dropped this line: the seat upgrade is an incremental cost. It is not considered an eligible incidental charge. And I'm like, what are you smoking, Ryan? I've used it before for seat upgrades, and it clearly triggers. So whatever. But I went on and said, it's a seat assignment. I picked the seat. It was charged. And basically what he said is, you have a remaining credit of $69.81. I'll see if I can make a manual adjustment. I've put in a request. You'll see that credit within 5 business days. I haven't actually got it yet. But I guess the moral of the story is, if you don't get your airline incidental credit, assuming it's legitimate. This one was totally legitimate, which is weird because my earlier one was less legitimate, buying an airfare with a gift card, credit card combo. If it's legitimate, just chat and ask them. After about 4 weeks, they can manually credit it. All right, going to catch up with the comments, and then we'll transition into what we need to transition into. MR says, I'm old enough to understand both of these very specific references, Pepper Boy and You Like It a Juice. That's exactly it. Why, thank you, young man. That's just the right amount of pepper. And you like it a juice? Yeah, I said you like it a pepper. Not into bears. I don't understand that comment. No. TM Kelly says, you won't get the transfer bonus on points earned on the Aeroplan card. LOL. Ah, yes. Slap my hand. Bad math, Doug. Bad math. So I shouldn't be taking it times 1.625. I should be taking it times 1.25. Let me fix it. All right, everybody, hop in the Wayback Machine. Pretend I didn't say something that dumb. All right, correction time. So $750 in value times 1.25. It would be the equivalent of $937. Still $937 for a $95 annual fee, at least in the first year, is defo worthwhile. And then you can start using my preferred Aeroplan trick. That's it, folks. That's the theme of the day. Thank you so much. Or excuse me, that's the end of the Dugroz data points. We are now ready for theme of the day. 70 people are on board. Smash that thumbs up button. If somebody would be kind enough to say how many people have already hit the thumbs up button, because on StreamYard, I can't see it. On StreamYard, there's a few things I can't see. Like I noticed, I think it was on John R's channel last week. I donated a channel membership, and it said Dugroz Reports donates 1 channel membership. Frank Swanson has received 1 channel membership. Last week, I couldn't see who was receiving the channel memberships, which is why I wasn't able to say who it was. Tariq Burke says 25 people have clicked the thumbs up button. Robert says 25 people. Now, come on, folks. That's almost a 1-to-3 ratio. We have 70 people on board. Only 25 have clicked the thumbs up button. Let me demonstrate here. You take your index finger and you click the thumbs up button. If you're on the phone, you just use that same index finger, thumb, middle finger, whatever your preference is, and just click the little picture that looks like a thumb going up. It's not very hard to do. Thanks for tolerating me, everyone. All right, now let's transition into the theme of the day. Share this tab instead and go full screen. And there we go. I need to be able to show the whole thing because I think this graphic is very worthy of recognition. David William has arrived, says, finally, no hangover, so I can watch Dugroz, LOL. Is that your picture there in the avatar? I still, inquiring minds want to know. All right, we're up to 27. Thank you to the 2 people who smashed the button. The path method for everyday spend in points and miles. So you got to find a path. So I told AI to please make me into someone who is a forest ranger or works at a national park or something. Give me this little tiny sombrero, but at least the shirt looks right. And if we look at these 8-bit graphics over here, raise your hand if you played any games like Dragon Warrior or any of the RPGs back in the Nintendo, Super Nintendo days where you have an overworld map, and there's usually a path, and you have to stay on the path. So if you look at this second image down below, you'll see like the character walking on the path, and you might be tempted to think, oh, there's a cave over here. Let me go explore that. Nope, got to stay on the path. In fact, there was a YouTuber named Brental Floss who wrote a little song, stay on the path, stay on the path. 1,000 bonus Dugroz points to anyone who can tell me what specific video game these screenshots are from. Anyone? So here's the problem. Here's why we need this. Big shiny object syndrome for spend tends to dominate our space. And what I mean by that is big multipliers. What do I mean big shiny object syndrome? We see something awesome like 5x on flights with the Amex Platinum. Like, oh, 5 points per dollar? I'm going to make so many points. But we don't really strategize and apply it to the goal we want to reach. That might be great for some people, but just because there's a giant bonus doesn't mean it's good for you. What if there was a credit card that gave 10 points per dollar on garden centers and nurseries, like plant nurseries? But it had a $1,000 annual fee, and you don't even really like plants. Would you say, oh, 10 points per dollar, I have to get this card? Hopefully not. You got to be a little more strategic and think about goal and what tool do I use to get there, not just that big shiny object. What I mean by that is the card drives the goal rather than the goal driving the card. That's basically what I just said. Let's use some examples here. So the American Express Gold Card is an example. 4x on dining and grocery. That sounds awesome. And that might be worth it, but there is an annual fee in the neighborhood of $300. So what's your goal? Is that going to be a good fit for you? Are you like John R. and you have a Walmart neighborhood market right down the street that gives you 4x in all your groceries? Or are you like me where I do all of my shopping at a standalone Walmart and I'm only going to get 1x? These are things you got to take into consideration. How about the Wells Fargo Attune, Matt Clausen's favorite card in the entire universe? It does have a 4x multiplier on some really awesome things that may or may not help. Secondhand stores. Hey, look, I've got records back there. Every single one of those records, almost every single one of those records was purchased at a thrift shop like Salvation Army or St. Vincent de Paul or something like that. So that would be great. But what if I'm not spending more than like $3 at a time on those records? Pet supplies, 4x. Yes. Oh, I have a goldfish and I spend like $100 a year. So is that a strategy? Well, it may or may not be depending on your situation. Now, if you work at a shop that has, I don't know, say you work at a dentist's office and you have one of those massive 30,000 gallon fish tanks and you spend $18,000 a year on fish supplies, maybe then it does make sense. Even my beloved Hilton card, and Hilton is going to be the example I apply this to today. So if you're a Hilton fan, stick around. The Aspire is 7x on dining. Is that worthwhile? Well, maybe. What's a Hilton point worth? Let's figure out our goals first. Even my beloved Wyndham Earner business card, 8x on gas. And I said some really nice thing about Wyndham's, but what if the only place you're going to ever that you need a hotel stay is Ottumwa, Iowa, and the only Wyndham hotel they have is a beat up old Super 8? Maybe that's not maybe that 8x isn't necessarily as great as it sounds at first blush. I got to catch up on comments here. Finally, David says, no, just funny picture I found. Well, now I know you found a funny picture. Sam K reminds everyone to smash the like button, and P.S. it's free. Thank you, Sam. I see you're a diehard now, so I wonder if somebody donated a membership to you. John R. wants to click the thumbs up button. Sam K says, I look great as a park ranger. Glad to hear it. Mike Newland says Zelda. If we're going back to that previous screen here, right there. That's the screenshot that it's from. I will give you half credit, but you need to be a little more specific. So 500 Dugroz points for Mike. MR says, it's dangerous to go alone. Take this. And he did in the form of a $9.99 super chat. Celebrate. Yes. So I'll give you half credit for identifying the series, but also a bonus 500 points for identifying or using the cool saying. It's dangerous to go alone. Yes, it is from the Zelda series, but I need someone to get more specific because there's like 52 different Zelda games. And thank you so much for the super chat. That's very generous of you, MR. MR also said, if you don't get that very old reference, that's okay. That means you're under 40. Absolutely. I am squarely in my mid 40s. So when I got my Nintendo, I think it was for my 10th birthday. It came with Super Mario Brothers. In fact, this was the very old one that was just Super Mario, not even Super Mario Duck Hunt. But the first game I ever purchased was the original Legend of Zelda. I love that game so much. Robert says, Gold Car is great for me. Hilton and Delta points when the bonus come. Absolutely. Can be, depending on the person. Robert Jarrell says, stuck at 34 for thumbs up. We do have 75 people on board, so keep clicking thumbs up. I appreciate it. Anybody want to see if they can beat MR's donation of $9.99? John R. says, which path do we take? I see what you did there. Thanks, John. I appreciate it. Celebrate. Mr. Consistent, $2 super chat. Thank you so much. I will very briefly take down my graphic and just show you that here in the background. I don't remember where I got the bottom record, informally yours, but I just love like images that are like from the 50s or 60s of people just hanging out in everyday situations, even though it's totally put on. This top record, I bought at a thrift store just on Thursday, and the cover is great. It's called Close to You, Make It With You, The Pop Machine. I figured it was just an instrumental version of Carpenter's songs or other popular songs. It's not. It's one of those generic knockoffs where they just hired some studio singer to sing other people's songs. So great cover, but that record's not going to be sticking around. But yeah, those were 99 cents each at a couple of thrift stores. So my Attune card would have come in handy there. Robert says one last path taken. Source King says Zelda 2, The Adventures of Link. Ding, 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 ding. Source King got it right. I like the Swedish flag. So I'm going to give you 100 bonus points. You actually get 1,100 Dugroz points. Austin, the Florida man, says, I'm always looking at my recorded spending and what travel I want to do in the next 12 to 18 months for card plays. We're on the same page, Austin. Stay tuned. QC Man celebrates his 14-month membership. Thank you for your patronage. Did you like Duck Hunt? Not really. It was kind of meh. I only played it at other people's houses. Rex Blind drops a $4.99 super chat. Celebrate. Thank you so much, Rex. I appreciate it. And he says, for me, the shiny object is metal sculpture, the card itself. Apple card is kind of mid, but the card is so pretty. I get that. That's part of the reason I want the Saver so badly. I like that orange card. MR says the Carpenters always nail it. Hey, I just want to show you something here. Right there. Carpenters. Got that at the thrift store too for 99 cents. And it's almost like new. I wonder if back in the 70s somebody gave it as a gift and then never used it or didn't use it very much. Robert says, I'm tempted to get the Delta Reserve. What's better than purple and metal? Absolutely. And to that, MR says, wait till they issue another special edition reserve card. The ones made from the planes were great. Yeah, I remember the 747 card that everybody had a little emotional moment over. Hey, 83 people on board. Thank you to those who have given donations and or something along those lines. I'm going to put my record back. Great record, but I think the giant heads are a little on the distracting side for the background. All right, back to the presentation here. Boop. The path method. We talked about that. We talked about big shiny object syndrome. We gave 4 examples. All right. So here's the solution. The path method for everyday spend. I got my not royalty free. I paid royalties to Adobe for the clip art at the bottom there. This is a Dugroz reports idea. In the words of Homer Simpson, patent pending, patent pending, patent pending. Don't copy me. Or at least if you do, give credit where credit's due. So more specifically, I have a couple disclaimers here. This is all highly subjective because how you use a card, how you value a card is very subjective by nature. You can make it somewhat objective, but the goal setting part is really subjective. So I still think it's a great exercise though. Second disclaimer, this is a basic framework. It can change and adapt. So one of the features you're going to see is you need to change as you go. And then thirdly, this is for everyday spend, not sign-up bonuses. I think we all know that with very few exceptions, you're always going to get better value out of that first year by hitting sign-up bonuses like the aforementioned Aeroplan card, a little over $1,000 in value. So what I'm talking about is how to arrange your everyday spend. Now, you could take this idea, go out and get new cards to fit, and I realize there's a valid debate there. I'm probably going to have it on a Frugal Points, at least in my own mind sometime. It'll be in my mind, but I'll say it out loud. Someday I'm going to do a recording of like, some people will say you should only get cards that are going to be keeper cards. Some people will say, nah, just churn and burn, get the sign-up bonus and be done with it. Some people have a middle ground. That's a good debate to have. But in this video, I'm just talking about cards you already have or you're acquiring for the purpose of everyday spend, not for the sign-up bonuses. Did I miss any comments here? I might have missed 1 or 2. Let's see. Where were we? Yep. Hey, QC Man gifted a membership. Celebrate, celebrate. Thank you, QC Man. That's just as good as a $3 gift. Austin, the Florida Man says, like, I know I only spend $60 to $80 on gas per month. Thus, I don't try to optimize gas specifically. You're doing great, Austin. Way to preview what I'm thinking. And Kirby says, hey, I just got gifted a membership. Let's go. Thank you, QC Man. Awesome. Glad it worked out. Agreed. $2.50 for choice points. What was? Oh, okay. Yeah. So like if you only have $60 to $80 per month, you're maybe making $2.50 worth of choice points. So you probably wouldn't go out and open a choice card just for that. Robert J. Exactly. Unique coloring. Got that Amex Platinum heft. The coloring reminds me of the old SPG card. Sam says Google are twits. They keep bombarding me with completely irrelevant ads that are meant for an American audience. YouTube. Tasers are illegal for civilians in the UK. Stop showing it. I get ads all the time that are so irrelevant. You know what the one is? They apparently think I'm really into right now. Paleo Valley beef sticks. And the fact that I've said this probably means I'll get even more. Did you know they're on sale right now? Only $30 for $36. Beef sticks are one of the healthiest things you can eat. Did you know that? I'm a model. Sorry, let me keep going. Path method, keep going. What is the path method? P, pick your travel goals. A, assess your ecosystem options. T, tailor your point earning to your spend. And H, harvest your rewards. You guys know I'm into acrostics. We've got rip trips, rental in plane. Now we have path. So these are the aspects that make up the acrostic. I asked the Facebook AI generator to help me think of a catchy acrostic. It took a while, but we came up with this working together. I'll break these down one by one. P, pick your travel goals. you have to consider lots of different things. Like, and this is totally subjective. So you have to know yourself. You have to know what you want to do. And admittedly, some of this can only come from trial and error. If you put me in a time machine, took me back to 2019, before I used points and miles for the first time to book any portion of a trip, I would have said something like, well, I just want cheap plane tickets to fly to Arizona and visit grandma and grandpa. Now my goals have become a little greater, but over time, you should know what you like. So here's things to consider. Flying versus driving. Obviously, if you have a fear of flying that is so crippling you're never willing to get on a plane, getting a Delta card probably doesn't make a lot of sense. How about economy versus premium cabin? I remember there was a YouTuber of the past named Waller's Wallet. His name was Dustin, who always said something like, I would rather have more travel than fancy travel. So for him, he wants economy. He can fly to Spain or England in economy from the Midwest and be just fine. Other people like the rewards master, no. We're going premium cabin. So figure out which of those you like, or maybe you shoot for the middle and you do premium economy. How about quantity versus quality? And that can apply to flights, but it can also apply to rental cars. You know, do you want a Yugo or do you want a Firebird? Do you want a Ford Festiva or do you want a Mercedes-Benz? It can apply to flights, as we mentioned before. It can also apply to hotels. Maybe you're like, hey, as long as it's clean and comfortable, and when you turn the lights off, every hotel room looks the same, give me the cheapest hotel room possible as long as it's not trashy. Other people want the turn down service. They want mints on their pillow. Me, I'm somewhere in the middle. I want a little bit of classiness, but I don't want too much. How about hotel versus vacation rental? I know Mike from What's the Point said in the past, he and his wife like to go for homey stays. Maybe you like that. You like being able to look out the back door like I did in upstate New York and see some mountains and a field. Maybe you want truckloads of privacy where you don't want anyone within 100 miles of you. Maybe you want to stay in a historic building in Yorktown, Virginia. Or maybe you're more like Luke from Luke's Points and Miles. You're like, no. We're going to the Intercontinental. I don't want to have a list of chores I have to do, like start the dishwasher and take out the garbage before I leave. I want a maid coming in and cleaning for me. So that's a matter of preference. I'm not saying one's better than the others. You just need to know. How about, are you okay with using some cash? A lot, a little, none? You know, my goal is that travel has to pay for itself. So yes, I use cash, but the cash is not coming from my family budget. I have to find where it's coming from. Cash out points. I have to use sign-up bonuses on cash back cards, cash back from everyday spend, bank account bonuses, targeted offers, those kind of things. Whereas someone like the rewards master is going to say, I'm going to take a certain amount from my budget every year and just use that to cover the things where I'm not getting epic value. Where do you fall on that scale? By the way, sneak peek, in the not too distant future, Rewards Master and I are planning on doing a joint video. I believe it'll be on his channel, so keep an eye out for that. That should be interesting. Talk about the odd couple. Continuation. Do you have one favorite hotel? Like, do you want to mostly stay at Hilton's? Do you want to mostly stay at Hyatt? Or are you like, free agent all the way, baby? I don't care if it's the Jones Family Hotel in Donaldson, Iowa. Give me whatever's the best value. Do you have one favorite airline? Are you like John R. and you're like, it's Delta or bust? Are you someone that always wants to fly KLM? Do you always want to fly on United like Lonnie? I mean, it's okay. Or are you like me? We're like, hey, just get me there for the best value and some combination of value and comfort. I could care less what the logo on the tail fin is. Do you travel as a family, solo, a couple? I mean, what I do and what JP Knowledge does are very different. So the type of travel you do, are you buying 4 tickets? You buying 1? You buying 2? You buying 3? These things matter. Maybe you have 5 kids and you're buying 7 tickets. At the Yorktown Monument, I saw a family pull up in a minivan and like 8 kids and mom and dad got out. I offered to take their picture. And I thought to myself, homeschool. I'm good with homeschooling. Domestic versus international. Do you want to mostly go overseas? Do you want to go to Asia? Do you want to go to Australia? Do you want to go to Europe? Do you want to go to South Africa? Go on safari? Or do you want to just stay closer to home? There's a blog that I used to read. It's been almost 10 years ago now. So I apologize, I haven't kept up with it. It was called Connecticut Museum Quest. Google it, Connecticut Museum Quest. And this is how I remembered it. It was a dad who had a son with some sort of profound disability. And because of his son's profound disability, it was very hard for them to travel any kind of distance, and they lived in Connecticut. Now, this dad could have just said, woe is me, I can't do the same kind of big fancy trips I did when I was in my 20s. But instead he said, you know what? I'm going to work within the framework I have. I'm going to go to every museum in the state of Connecticut. I thought that was pretty awesome, but some combination of circumstances and preferences will indicate which one you are doing. And then how much are you okay with layovers? Don't love layovers. I can tolerate them a little bit, but if you're like, I am only flying from point A to point B, I am not doing any layovers, that's going to influence what your goals are as well. All right, let me catch up with comments before I move along here. Sorry, no drug commercials. Excuse me. Sub any drug commercial, not relevant. This was back on Sam's comment about completely irrelevant ads and me talking about beef sticks. Kirby has a referral link for Robert. MR says, I always enjoy his channel. I'm not sure which his you're referencing. Maybe Luke, maybe Rewards Master. I'll take either. Maybe Connecticut Museum Quest. Sam says, not sure if you seen the membership gift I sent. That was when Google showed that unskippable advertisement as soon as you spoke. It's fine if you see it. Oh, I'm sorry, Sam. I might have missed one. Let me go back. I sure did. I'm so sorry. Sam K gifted 1 Dugroz Reports membership. Celebrate. Celebrate. That's just as good as a $3 super chat, or maybe £3.28, something like that. So sorry I missed that. If I ever do forget to celebrate your gift, I actually do want you to speak up. So don't be afraid to do that. Thanks, Sam. Source King says, I got the Red Aviator and City Advantage specifically to get 160,000 AA points so I could fly first class, ORD, that is Chicago O'Hare, to HND and back on JAL. I think HND is Tokyo Haneda. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, so that would be earn and burn. That's fine with it. Robert says, I'm in pop-up jail, so I'd try it. Otherwise, I do have an upgrade bonus offer. We're talking about Delta cards. QC Man 2000 says, Waller's Wallet wanted you to know he worked out, but really good channel. He did. He let us all know he was going to the gun show on a regular basis. I wonder what happened to him. I remember he did a video about cutting back, and I think he was a stay-at-home dad. Maybe he went back into the world of pharmacy. I think both he and his wife were pharmacists, just going from memory, but couldn't say for sure. Dennis Dunn is here. How you doing, Dennis? Says, you go. Heck no. Sorry about that, Dennis. Hey, I don't remember if we've met before. Good to have you on board. Texas Dog says, I don't have flexibility with dates and time, but I want to be able to book it when I want it. Ooh, that's another factor consider in your goals is, do you have flexibility or not? I got a beard trim last week. I did my first regular trim since then. I don't know if it's the black shirt, but am I looking like way more gray in the beard than normal today? I remember when Zelda 2 came out. Tim McDonald says, 2-hour flight is economy, coast to coast, at least premium economy. I think I've decided that anything over 90 minutes from now on, I'm going for business class or premium economy. Ian says, I felt like Rewards Master is going to beat me into a redemption. Awesome. Rex says, school holiday schedule dictates when for me. Austin says, I think this is why I recently got the Blue Cash Preferred. I want to cash back from the previously unoptimized grocery spend, and a built-in chase cover a lot of the points needed. Good idea. MR says, I was commenting that I enjoyed Waller's Wallet, but he stopped posting once the pandemic started. Interesting. And Robert says, yeah, I guess he gave up. Too bad he put some effort in. Sam says, just returning the kind gesture to a random viewer. Thank you so much, Sam. I appreciate that. There's nothing wrong with, I just got to pass on the kindness there, folks. That was my really bad Dude Perfect imitation. So now we're going to talk about my 4 example goals for 2025, 2026, and beyond. So let's see, okay. Example number 1. not just example. These are my 4 goals. Number 1 is flexible domestic flights. So my family's going to Europe again this summer. We're going to England and then Austria, and then we're coming back home, of course. Once we get past that, my feeling is we're probably not going to be traveling internationally, at least not as a family, for a while. And this is because my kids are now 16. They're entering their junior year of high school. They're both going to have part-time jobs. So I feel like the busyness is going to pick up. I mean, gone are the days when you've got a couple of 11-year-olds who don't have much of a social calendar. Every weekend they're going somewhere. In the summer, my one son is doing ninja gym competitions. My other son is doing chess tournaments. He's getting ready for football season. He's practiced like 4 days a week. So instead of taking like one trip that's 10 days to 2 weeks long, I would envision more like 2 or 3 4-day trips. That doesn't make international as worthwhile. So I think we're going to be seeing more domestic flights. And I say flexible based on where I live. So I shared this screenshot last week. I live in Des Moines, Iowa. There's only so many destinations, and between United, Delta, American, Allegiant, Frontier, and Southwest, you can't be too picky. So if I want to fly to Austin, Texas, I might get there on American. There's no good Delta routes. So I can't be like, I'm only Delta or I'm only United. I've got to be flexible and willing to go with whatever the best way to get there is. Plus, I prefer direct flights or minimal layovers when possible. So number 1 goal, this is for the latter half of 2025, going into 2026 and beyond, is going to be flexible domestic flights. Goal number 2 is going to be Hiltons. Hey, that's the example of the day. I'm going to use some Hilton examples later in this video to show how the path method works. I really like Hilton because, as I talked about earlier, the guaranteed connecting rooms, even though the free night certificate was devalued because you can't combine it with guaranteed connecting rooms. This is the Embassy Suites in Washington, D.C. My actual pictures. That's why it doesn't look professional. It was perfect for us. And a little bit later, I'll get into more about why I want Hiltons, but I like staying at Hiltons. So I'm going to be shooting for Hiltons. That's one of my goals. Goal number 3 is non-chain lodging. And by that, I mean things that aren't Hilton, Marriott, IHG, Wyndham, etc. So standalone places. In fact, 4 of the favorite places I've ever stayed were not a part of any chain. I'll go over which 4 they are here. So the top left is my family at the Blue Wave Inn in Ashland, Wisconsin. It was a boutique hotel that only had 4 or 5 rooms, and they all looked out over Lake Superior, so that was awesome. Top right is a Koru Mountain Lodge in Thomas, West Virginia. That was a tiny house. I only spent 1 night there, but I loved it. I also thought it was kind of funny that in both pictures, my smile is almost exactly the same, kind of that half-hearted dad smile. Bottom left is the favorite lodging I've ever stayed in my entire life, the Lundy Lodge in Wales. And nope, that's not artwork on the wall. Those are actual pictures where you look out and see the rolling hills of Wales and sheep out the window. That was part of cottages.com. You could indirectly argue that it's part of a chain because I used Wyndham points, but it's not actually part of Wyndham, so I wasn't earning Wyndham status. And then the bottom right is the Accra Loft, or the Loft in Accra, which is a very small town in upstate New York, not too far from Catskill and Albany, out in the something mountains. I'll say the Catskill Mountains. That was booked through Airbnb, so not a part of any chain, just a standalone lodging. So that's my 3rd goal, is to mix in some non-chain lodging. One thing that I've come to find as a pattern that I really like is what I call the laundry sandwich, patent pending. When we went to Europe last summer, we did a chain hotel in the front end. That was a Hilton. Then the Lundy Lodge, which was like an Airbnb and had a laundry machine. And then a chain hotel in the back end, which was a Nordic Choice hotel, Strawberry Hotel. So you have this sandwich in the middle where you stay at like a lodge or a cabin or a boutique hotel where you have your own laundry machine. That really comes in handy. And that applies to my RIP trips too, not just family travel. So I really like a Hilton on each end, or maybe a Wyndham or whatever, and then the non-chain lodging right there in the middle. Goal number 4 is rental cars. Here's a picture of me at a defunct drugstore in Catskill, New York. Somebody told me what's the chain of drugstores that went out of business maybe 5 to 10 years ago? Is it Rexall Drug? I pulled into one of their parking lots and took a picture. Yeah, I really like renting cars, not so much because I love the cars themselves, but just because I want to go see things. Like when we stay in Wales, there's no train station to Paynes Castle, Wales. It's a tiny little town. There's not even a bus line, so you have to be able to rent a car. The tiny cabin in West Virginia, the waterfall in West Virginia, the waterfall in upstate New York, none of those things are next to public transit. So I like renting cars because you get out in the country and you see stuff. You see the stuff I want to see. If I want to go to the grave of Martin Van Buren, there is not a train or bus that goes by Old Kinderhook. All right, so I'll pause here and catch up on comments. Tariq Burke says, Waller's wallet stopped after his cat died. Huh. Oh, sorry to hear about the cat. Texas Dog says, I keep my beard very short. It helps de-emphasize the gray. I think this is pretty short, but man, I still got a lot of gray coming in. Robert says, I can empathize with Waller's wallet. Ian says, gonna be 16, the age of possibly having a grandchild not sure what that's getting at. If you're talking about my kids, yes, they could hypothetically give me grandkids, but let's hold off on that for at least another 6 years or so. QC Man says, if it's a fancy enough vacation, your kids will find the time for vacation with his parents. See Uncle Luke's vacation next year with his grown kids. I'm not sure about that. Both of my boys have been saying, hey, yeah, I'm looking forward to going to Europe this summer, but I think the summer after that, I'd like to do something a little down low, like maybe just go to South Dakota and see Mount Rushmore, stay in a cabin for 4 or 5 days, come back. Maybe they'll change their tune. Who knows? But I still think just schedule-wise, flexible domestic trips are probably more likely. Tim says, I only rent cars if the hotel has free parking. Maybe you need to specifically look for hotels with free parking. Then that's something else to take into consideration. Thanks, Tim. Moving on. We got 65 people on board. A few people don't like the path method, so keep clicking thumbs up and dropping those 99-cent super stickers. All right, so we talked about the picking part. Now we're going to talk about assess briefly. Assess your ecosystem options. So what we have here is you think about your cards, and then you have to apply each one of those goals to it. That's why I have an arrow. So you're going to think about what cards I have. Does it help me get to flexible domestic flights? Does it help me get Hiltons? Does it help me get boutique hotels? Does it help me get rental cars? And you'll have to mix and keep coming back and kind of doing it together. Now, this one and the next one kind of go together. This is the longest step because you have to keep, doing the math and going back and forth. And it's like a feedback loop where you try something and then you redo it and then you redo it and then you redo it. You repeat this for each goal. And we will come back to this. This will be part of the Hilton example. And then there's the tailor step, assess and tailor. The A and T kind of go together. And you'll see, yes, I have a picture of something of a budget on an Excel spreadsheet at the bottom. Yes, you have to know your budget and spending habits for this to work. Or I said budget / spending habits. Now, just to be clear, you don't have to be like Spaithco and have 52 spreadsheets where you track every penny, but you have to at least have a general idea of your spending habits. You'll notice I said you're tailoring point earnings to your spend. You're not tailoring your spending to your points earnings. So if I come back to the Wells Fargo Attune example, you shouldn't go out and buy a dog just because you get 4X at pet stores. If you're going to have a dog anyway, regardless of points and miles, maybe that's a great card to have for when you go to pet stores, Petco or whatever. But tailor your pointing and earnings to your spend, not the other way around. But if you don't know how much you're spending, you won't know how to do the figures here. Again, you could have a detailed budget or at least a general idea. For example, if I said, how much do you spend every year on gas? And you're like, I don't know. It's like, well, give me a rough idea. I don't know. Well, do you think it's closer to $50 or $7,000? It's probably like $7,000. And then you find out you're a single guy with a hybrid vehicle and you spend about $200 a year on gas. Obviously, your results are going to be completely wrong. So yes, you have to at least have a general idea of how much you're spending. Next is you have to project how much you will earn based on those cards. So again, with assess, we went to different things. What you're doing is saying, okay, if I used all Amex cards, here's how much I would earn. And you might have to adjust from there. And then you're going to decide which goal gets which category. So the goal of rental cars might get the gas category. So I'm going to figure out what can I earn on gas to get me to rental cars best. For dining, maybe it's Hilton's. What can I earn on dining to get me to Hilton's? Yes, you can mix and match, but you at least need to have a general idea. Like let's just say hypothetically, I only wanted to stay at Wyndham's. That's not the case. But if I did, I would say I'm only ever going to use my Wyndham Earner business card at gas stations. And here's the math and here's why it works out. And then you're going to harvest your rewards. There's a very, very inside joke I have with like one other person about harvesting the wind. Harvesting the wind. It was a video I did like 30 years ago. Maybe I'll find it someday. You're going to harvest your reward. You're going to be like this guy, have your giant novelty credit card and go to stores. You're going to go forth and swipe or tap or insert or whatever. You actually have to do the spending. Now, again, tailor your earnings to your spending, not the other way around. So don't overspend. Don't buy a more expensive goldfish tank just because you want to earn more points. You got to avoid that temptation. You do have to stick to it. So if you've decided to commit to the Wyndham Earner business card for gas, don't think, oh man, my autograph's looking really pretty this week. I just want to use it. So once you've committed, no matter how pretty the card is, no matter what the current fad is, stick to it. Now it's okay to adjust, but at least for 6 months or so, stick it out. Be willing to adjust. So if a new card comes along that fits better or something changes, maybe your favorite gas station gets bought out by another company and now it's not coding as gas, it's coding as a grocery store for some reason. Yeah, be ready to adjust. Or if you find a new hack, be willing to adjust. All right. Comments here. Where were we? Robert points out up to 45 likes. That's good. Keep smashing them, people. You got another 35-ish people that can. Robert says, why are the other 20 people watching if they don't like it? Eyes propped open. That is funny. Okay. Yuri BSU has arrived. Hi, Doug, from sunny Lisbon, Portugal. Or I assume that's what PT stands for. Awesome. Hope you're enjoying your vacation. How do the ladies have self-control spending? Oh, Sam, I'm not going to go there. Cesar says, mi hermano, Doug. Sorry I'm late. I'll watch the full replay. Awesome. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. Austin says, the Taylor part is why I actually have a credit card merchant tracker in YNAB in the background. In addition to my actual spend plan. What is YNAB? You need a budget, I bet. Okay. Yeah, that's good. Dennis says, I linked my Hilton Surpass to my United Airlines dining program to double my dining points. I'm thinking of the line from Moff Jared in Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. We shall double our efforts. We shall double our points. That's awesome, Dennis. Great. Continuing on here. Let's assess Hilton. Let me say that again in case I cut up the video later. Let's assess Hilton, the ways to earn. So this is sort of like if you've ever seen Let's Make a Deal with Monty Hall, or nowadays with, can't think of his name, the black guy from Whose Line Is It Anyway? It's like you choose which door you're going to go in, and door number 1, door number 2, or door number 3. There's 3 different ways that I've identified to earn on Hilton. What is that guy's name? Somebody tell me the name of the current host of Let's Make a Deal. I don't know why I can't think of his name. Option 1 is you can spend on Hilton cards. Duh, I have the Surpass. It's a good card. Option number 2 is you can spend on Amex cards and then transfer those points to Hilton. Yep, Amex transfers to Hilton 1 to 2. Or option 3, earn cash back and then buy Hilton points. So yeah, you can usually buy Hilton points at a pretty good value of ½ cent each. There we go. Wayne Brady. Thank you, Happy Tom. Wayne Brady, MR. Wayne Brady, QC. So yeah, I'm going to be Wayne Brady and play Let's Make a Deal. Austin verified that YNAB equals you need a budget. And Texas Dog says, I recently discovered the United Airlines dining program. It's basically bonus points on top of my credit card spend. Awesome. I'll have to look into that. Option number 1, spend on Hilton cards. We've got the business card. We've got the Aspire. We've got the Surpass here. So what do we know about that? Well, you're going to earn 5x everywhere using the business card. So if you had all 3, you should never fall below 5x. You're going to earn 7x on dining with the Aspire card. You're going to earn 6x on gas and groceries with the Surpass. And you're going to earn 4x with online spend on the Surpass. I said pointless in small text because if you have the business and the Surpass, why would you use 4x for online spend when you get 5x everywhere? So it's there, but it's kind of pointless. So for the sake of the example right now, I've often found it's helpful to go to the extreme. You might be thinking, well, Doug, most people aren't going to get all 3 cards. That's a lot in annual fees. Don't you know that's like $550, $150, $250, whatever. I'm not sure what the order is. That's a lot of annual fees, and it is. I found it's helpful to kind of illustrate absurdity. So you might try the no annual fee option. You might try the get them all annual fee option. So for the sake of the starting point, we're going to assume I have all 3 cards, or I got all 3 cards, and then we can dial it back from there. But let's start with that assumption. We need a plausible budget. Like I said, you have to know roughly how much you spend. Something that has blessed me multiple times in the world of points and miles is that in 2018, the last year before I got into points and miles, I did a detailed family budget. So I know what I spent before I even knew about points and miles. So I can be reasonably confident that my spending isn't influencing my budget. Now, I've only done updates since then. I haven't done a deep dive, but I applied inflation to come up with these figures. I'm confident that if it's not 100% accurate, it's at least 80% accurate. So here's my plausible budget. For dining, I'm going to spend $5,000 a year. I've told you I'm using $500 a month on my PayPal debit card, but I sometimes have $75, $100 left over, so I think it comes out to about $5,000 a year. Amazon, $4,000 a year. That's pretty predictable. Amazon gift cards are basically legal currency in our household. $4,000 a year on gas, roughly. Now, that's not just buying gasoline. I am a sucker for Casey's Pizza, for chicken sandwiches from Quick Trip, etc. Walmart, $10,000 a year. It might actually be a little more than that. It might be more like $11,000 or $12,000. So I think I'm being conservative there. Regular grocery stores, this would be Fairway, Aldi, Hy-Vee. If you're outside of my geographic area, Ralph's, Publix, like the actual grocery stores. Only about $3,000 a year. We do most of our grocery buys at Walmart. Telecom. Oh, and I should say the Walmart does not code as grocery. So it's not one of those where I'm lucky and it codes as grocery. It just codes as like discount stores, everything else. Telecom, $2,000. Telecom is cell phone bills and cable internet, that kind of thing. Everything else, $25,000 a year. And that is literally everything else from medical bills, subscriptions, school supplies, things basically all the little things, dental copays that don't fall into any particular category, around $25,000 a year. Now, I will admit I've found some ways around this. Like I didn't have a separate pharmacy category. So like we buy some stuff at pharmacies. I just got a prescription shipped to me. It was $25 and I put that on my Freedom Flex to get 3x on pharmacy. So I could break it down by tap to pay and use the Altitude Reserve, but I'm not going to get that detailed today. I'm just going to say $25,000, everything else. Utilities are about $4,000 a year. That would be water, power, natural gas, and trash. And then that brings us to a total of $57,000 a year. It's weird to think that not even counting your mortgage or rent, it takes $57,000 a year just to have a family of 4 nowadays. That seems insane. Catching up on comments here. A lot of people told me about Wayne Brady and the United Dining program. Gold Homer says, former host of the Dave Chappelle Show, Wayne Brady. Oh, I never knew he hosted the Dave Chappelle Show. Robert says, what's the best United card for the occasional United flyer? I don't really like them, but they keep having the routes I need. I would probably not get a United card at all. I would just do something like a Chase setup and book it through a portal or my Aeroplan trick or my Altitude Reserve. But if you do want a United card, I've heard frequent milers say the business card is the best as sort of like a starting point that pays for itself. QC Man says, Wayne Brady's Chappelle Show skit, one of the all-time funniest. Awesome. Cesar says 7X on car rental and flights with the Aspire. I should have pointed this out. Thank you so much, Cesar. I don't do a whole lot of paid travel, you may have picked up on. I use points whenever possible. Even when I use tricks, like it's such a minimal part of my budget, I didn't even bother to include it. Like I said, I could have broken everything else out further. It would probably come to like 1,200 or 1,500 a year. It's not going to be a huge amount. Hey, 75 people on board. That's the best so far. Let's see if we can get over 80. Robert points out that's what I do. The surpass reward cats aren't helpful if you have the gold, maybe for gas. Cards, I assume. QC Matt says, I know there's a frequent commenter who has 5 aspires between himself and player 2. I forgot his name. So there are some Hilton super fans. Yes, Wayne Brady. Thanks, Matt. Gold Homer agrees with my best guess. The United Business Card is the best. You get free bags, access to discounted point fares, 2 lounge passes, meh, free check bags, and some other smaller credits. The annual fee card is not good. Excuse me, the no annual fee card is not good. Clairvoyant says, I'm lucky to have gotten my parents the original US Bank Altitude Reserve and Smartly. They are getting everything they need with a simple setup, 4% at least on everything. That's awesome. Yeah, that's a great setup for parents who are normal people. Shad says, haven't seen you in a while, Shad. How you doing? Big time diehard right there. Love the picture. I've been using a spreadsheet I made to track every purchase and compare historical spend to any number of credit card strategies. I'm just now going to use the YNAB, just started a week or so ago. Robert says, I don't do business, no protections. I get that. What's the best card for veterinarian and pet store spend? Well, I know you got the Attune for pet store. I have no idea on veterinarians. If anybody else knows, let me know. Right now, he uses his Capital One Venture X for 2X. Venture X is a good card. Could be a lot worse. The Path Method. Let's look at the plausible budget using all Hilton cards. There's no getting around the fact there's going to be some math involved here. I'm not going to break it out line by line on every screen, but I have to on at least a couple. So here we go. Put a comment if you actually like super detailed math. If you're watching this after the video, just write math in all capital letters. Plausible budget. So on dining, with the all Hilton setup, I'd be getting 7X on the Aspire, which is $35,000 a year. With Amazon, I'd be getting 5X using the business card. That's $20,000 a year. It bothers me, by the way, I didn't put a space right there. With gas, I'm getting 6X on the Surpass. That's $24,000 a year. With Walmart, I'm getting 5X again, the business card. Unfortunately, I can't earn more than that, even though it's my biggest category other than everything else. That's $50,000 a year. With grocery, it's minimal, but at least I'm getting 6X on my Surpass. That's $18,000. Telecom, again, defaulting to the 5X, I'm getting $10,000. Everything else, again, the 5X, $25,000 spend gets me 125,000 Hilton points. Sorry, I couldn't fit it to make the columns all line up there. And then utilities, again, 5X on everything, 20,000 points. So as a total, on my $57,000 of spend every year, I would earn 302,000 Hilton points. You think to yourself, that's not too bad. But let's look at those other methods and see if we can do better. Option 2 is going to be to spend on the Amex cards. What Amex cards are we talking about? I think maybe my very first or one of my very first members only videos was something like maybe the best Hilton cards aren't actually Hilton cards. So I considered the combo of an Amex Business with an Amex Gold, using it exclusively for Hilton. Good strategy? Meh. Let's find out. We're going to use 2X everywhere, which is the blue Business Plus, as long as it's $50,000 or less, which I checked it would be. We're going to do 4X on dining and groceries with the regular Amex Gold card, of course. And then 6X on gas and telecom with the business gold. I'm sorry, folks. That is a misprint. It's not 6X. I just had a copy paste error. So let's try that again. 4X on gas and telecom on the business gold. The logic here is that with the business gold, you get 4X on your 2 highest earning categories. The ones that I might realistically use would be dining, but I already have the regular gold, so I don't need that. Gas, which that's what I'll use for that, as well as cell phone bills. Now, I think it's cell phones and phone bills, so if it was a landline, that would count too. Now, it doesn't specifically say it accounts for like cable or high-speed internet. I have a fiber optic company. So if anybody knows if that would code, I don't know. I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt and say one of two things. Either it does or close enough, because I bet for most people, especially if you have a family of like 3 kids with cell phones, maybe you're on a plan with your brother-in-law or something, I bet of your telecom spend, well over half, probably 60, 70% is cell phones anyway. So we're going to say close enough. I know that you can transfer 1 to 2 from Amex to Hilton. We'll do that part at the end. So on the next screen, you're just going to be seeing how it works out in terms of Amex points. I think somebody said something. I was about to say, when did the business gold become 6X? Sorry, I did that late at night. I spent like 3 hours preparing this. I was up till midnight. So yeah, my brain was a little bit fried. Here's the plausible budget using all Amex again. So I'm going to get 4X on my dining, 20,000 Amex points. I'm going to get 2X on Amazon, that's 8,000. I'm going to get 4X on gas, that's 16,000. I did it correct on this screen. 2X on my Walmart, wish it could be more, that's 20,000. Groceries at 4X comes to 12,000. The telecom, again, rounding up, giving you the benefit of the doubt, assuming that it's all going to code as telecom. 4X, that's 8,000 points. Everything else is going to be that 2X on the Blue Business Plus. And, I've got my Walmart plus my Amazon plus my everything else added together, still under 50,000 points. $50,000. That's 50,000 points. Utilities, 2X, 8,000. And that brings our total on the $57,000 of spend for me, an average Joe with an average family, to 142,000 Amex points. Now we'll do the conversion. So, but Doug, Hilton points, but Doug, Amex transfers to Hilton 1 to 2. But we also know there are frequent transfer bonuses. Over here on the right, hat tip to Nerd Wallet. I went back and looked at a history of some of those bonuses. Haven't seen 50 in a while. That was back pre-pandemic, but we've had 50, 40, 40, 30, 30, 30. Sorry, I was talking too fast. I got kind of dizzy there. Don't want to pass out live on the air. Checking my Fitbit. 70 beats per minute. Okay, that's normal. We're good. Hat tip to Nerd Wallet showing all the Amex to Hilton transfer bonuses going back to 2019. So they are pretty frequent. 2024 is the only year that didn't have one, but you only had to make it from December of 23 to February of 25. So that's only 14 months. For the sake of our discussion, we'll use the smallest, which is 25%, because we know it's always 25%. You could probably be still relatively conservative and assume 30. I've used the 30 frequently before. But let's say 1 to 2.5, which is with the 25% bonus built in. Your 142,000 Amex points becomes 355,000 Hilton points. Let's back it up a step and see where we're at with the scoreboard, because you might have forgotten how we did using all Hilton cards. So far, Hilton cards only got us 302,000 Hilton points. If instead we did Amex points, waited for at least a 25% transfer bonus, then we'd be at 355,000. So not counting annual fees, the Amex cards are winning. Pausing for comments here. When Texas asked about the best card for veterinarians and pet stores, Robert says the Attune. Clairvoyant says, I'm here for the math. Glad to hear it. We still have 68 people on board. We had about 4 or 5 people that just aren't fans of math. The new Strata card has pet care as an optional 3X. That would be the City Strata, the brand new one. Austin says math. Tim says math. Shad says, I love detailed math. That's one of the reasons I love your channel. Great. Happy Tom says 1 hour in and finally some math. Nuracan71 says, between me and player 2, we have 2 aspires and 3 surpasses. We will have about 5 free night certificates to use for next year. Awesome. Nuracan, do you ever have issues with wanting connecting rooms, traveling with kids? Is that a thing for you? And how do you work that with like connecting rooms with your free night certificate? If it doesn't apply, that's okay. QC man, oh yeah, I already read that comment. Texas Dog says, I use Ink Cash for all telecoms, sell internet streaming for 5X. Then I redeem through the Chase portal for 1.5 with CSR for a 7.5% cashback equivalency. Tuck that away, Texas Dog. I'm getting there. Hang on. Austin says, why not do a hybrid of Amex charge cards and Hilton branded cards? You could definitely do that. Tim says, maybe add some points on the free night certificate on the Surpass. I thought about doing this is a detailed analysis. I thought about doing a hyper detailed analysis, Tim, where I figure out like, what's the free night certificate worth? What's its a reasonable value? How much do I have to deduct from the annual fee to credit that? I just didn't get there. I was too tired. It was 11:30 at night. New again has arrived, says, just joined. You're breaking down something deep. I like it. Thank you. Hey, QC Man gifted another Dugroz Reports membership. Just as good as a $3 super chat. Celebrate. Thank you, QC Man. I really, really appreciate that. Back to the presentation. All right, so remember that third option I mentioned? It's time to go over it now. Option 3, cashback by the points. So I could get 4% gas back consistently on my PNC rewards card. I said mine. I don't actually have this card, but hypothetically, I sure could. I do like the look of this green card. It's one of those 4-3-2 categories where it's like 4% on gas, 3x on, I don't know, dining, 2x on grocery. It's all cash back. The 2 and the 3 are things we can get lots of places. So I would just use it as a gas card. I think you can go up to like $10,000 in spend per year on gas. Admittedly, only people in like 12 states can get this card, but I think I'm one of them. Don't quote me on that. But I'm going to use that for the sake of my illustration. 5% cash back on utilities with the Cash Plus from US Bank. I like the old blue card better, but that's what it looks like. That's one of those non-rotating category cards where every quarter you pick your category, but you can do the same category all the time. So I do utilities in one of them. Again, everything else includes like gym memberships. We spend like $88 a month on gym memberships, which I didn't include, but I could have. You're going to get 5% back on telecom. Somebody mentioned the Chase Ink Cash. Who was it? It was Texas Dog. So yeah, you had to know it was coming. 5x on telecom, office supply, cell phone, high-speed internet, whatever. 5% on dining, not pictured, but I have my PayPal debit card. That's what I'm using it for right now. And then 5% on Amazon with the Amazon card. Again, I don't have that right now, but I could hypothetically go out and get it. And then 3% on grocery. You can get 3% on grocery on lots of things, but maybe not lots of things, but at least on the Blue Cash Every Day from American Express. I decided to use the Blue Cash Every Day because I want to start out with some commentary on annual fees. I could break that out into Blue Cash Preferred, but I'm not spending at least $4,300 or whatever the break-even point is on standalone grocery stores like Hy-Vee and Fairway. So instead, I'm going to use the Blue Cash Every Day, no annual fee. So here's that plausible budget and the math. The math lovers will keep on loving this. Dining is going to be 5% cash back, which is $250 on my PayPal debit card. Amazon is going to be 5% cash back on my Amazon card, $200. Now, I say no annual fee. I'm aware you have to have an Amazon Prime membership, but rest assured, we will always have that Amazon Prime membership. I had it before I even got into credit cards. Gas, 4% cash back on $4,000 with that PNC card. That's $160. Walmart, 2%. Pick any 2% cash back card. The double cash, the active cash, whatever. $200. Groceries, 3% of my Blue Cash Every Day. That's $90, a little better than the 2x I had been getting. Telecom, we've got the full 5% using my CIC. That's $100. Everything else, $25,000 at 2%. Again, I could break this out further to include pharmacy on my Freedom Flex, that kind of stuff. I could use rotating categories, but just for the sake of keeping it simple, $500. Utilities, 5% using my US Bank Cash Plus, $200. That brings us to a total of $1,700 cash back. So, Hilton points can be purchased. Did you know that? Hat tip to 1 mile at a time is going to show us all of the purchase bonuses and when they happened. So to be more specific, they are frequently on sale with a 100% bonus. And when I say frequently, this is just going back to the middle of last year. I think there were more days when it was on sale for 0.5 cents each than when it wasn't. They were on sale from August through September 24th. You had to make it all the way through like 15 days to get to October 9th. And then when that one ended, you had to make it from November 27th to December 4th. Again, like 6 or 7 days that they weren't on sale. You had to go almost a whole month from December end to January end. And then you had to go about 3 weeks from March 14th to April 8th. So they're on sale plenty. And it comes to half a cent each. I think we all knew that. You can buy those points for a half cent each. So $1,700, which was the cash back from the previous screen, will buy you 340,000 Hilton points. Now you're going to need a refresher on where that stands on the overall scoreboard. So Hilton cards only, 302,000. Amex cards with the transfer, 355,000. Cash back, 340,000. Now you might think to yourself, well, cashback almost won. That's close, but it's not really there. The giant obvious factor we haven't considered yet is this, the annual fees. Using all Hilton cards, you're paying $895 in annual fees. The Amex card, you're paying $700 in annual fees. Every single cashback card I listed, $0 in annual fees. Now, if you convert the annual fees you're paying to a Hilton point equivalent, assuming it's worth half a penny each, an easy way to do the math is just double this number and then add 2 zeros. So double 700 to 1,400, add 2 zeros, you're talking 140,000. So we're knocking this from 355,000 down to 215,000 points if you subtract out those annual fees. Once you do that, cashback is not just the winner, it's the winner with a bullet. So I know Uncle Luke has said it many times. I've mentioned it once or twice. It seems like the best way to accumulate Hilton points with everyday spend is just to use your favorite cashback card and then buy the points when they're on sale. Oops, spoiler alert. Comments, anyone? Talked about that already. Nuracan says, sorry, I never look for connecting rooms, just me and my wife. Okay, I understand. Luke's Points of Mail said, oh man, once we factor in food and beverage and FNCs, this is going to get ugly. Luke says, food and beverage can get into the hundreds, if not thousands a year. I will get into that, Luke. Thanks for being on board this morning, although it'll be more my level, not so much your level. QC Man 2000 says, the PNC 2% is also nice because it has no foreign transaction fees, which a lot of 1.5%, 2% cards have. Oh, I didn't know that. Texas Dog says, I also have the cash back for electric bill and fast food purchases at 5%. Ricky C says, good morning, credit card community. Glad to see you, Ricky. Thanks for being on board. Luke says the AAA gets 5% on groceries. Good idea. I should probably get there someday. Edgar says, why not get Walmart gift cards at 5% with the CIC? Edgar, you tell me where I can buy Walmart gift cards at a store that codes as office supply, and I'll start doing that. Texas Dog says, my setup is hybrid cash back and points for travel. I'm confused. We'll kind of get there. Just everyone that's thinking like, why not include this? Why not include that? Have a little patience. We'll get there. Dennis says, holy number crunching, Batman. Absolutely. Ricky says, I've got more numbers than an accountant. Texas Dog says, I thought about the AAA card, but I couldn't justify another card. I'm trying to keep my personal cards at 10. New Again talks about gold status and higher food and beverage value. I stopped counting once I hit 500 a year. Luke says there's a cap on purchasing Hilton points, but I think that example is close. And frankly, I could buy the maximum. My wife could buy the maximum. My mom could buy the maximum. My dad could buy the maximum. My sister could buy the maximum. Then I'll transfer them to me, and I think we'd be okay. Ricky says, do you factor Hilton cards less Hilton card benefits such as United Travel Bank? I'll kind of get there. Like I said, we could go hyper deep. I'm going to go kind of deep. So let's get there. Robert says this assumes you get no benefits from the annual fee cards. It does. It does. Just whoa, Nelly, hold your horses. Tim says still going to have diamond or gold status with Hilton. And Luke says the power of cash back is really crazy for the majority of us, but it's not as sexy. I agree with that, Luke. All right. Let's satisfy those of you who want me to take more things into consideration here. Continuing on. What if I make one little change on cash back? What if I use the Robinhood Gold card for 3% at 3% for everything else instead of 2x? How would that work out? Now, there is a wait list for the Robinhood Gold card, so this is hypothetically, but I will say doing this illustration did inspire me last night to join the wait list, so I'm on it now. Not sure if it would be in my name or my wife's name, so let's ponder this a little more. I'm not going to go line by line because it only impacts a couple lines. It impacts the Walmart line, which goes from 10,000 at 3%, 2% to 3%, so that adds an extra $100. And it impacts everything else. Instead of being 500, it brings that up to 750. So basically I added 250 here and 100 here, so an extra $350 in value. So thinking that through, it adds $350 in value, all for a $50 annual fee. Now, to get the Robinhood Gold card, you have to have a Robinhood Gold account, and that account charges you $50 a year. I would just put in whatever the minimum number is. I don't know if it's like $100 or $1,000 and just put it into some, money market mutual fund or something like that. Let it sit there. So now the number, on this previous screen, I didn't give you the total. Look down here at the bottom. Instead of 1,700 something, it's 2,050. So 2,050 buys you 410,000 Hilton points. So now we need to update the score. All of these things remain the same. We're just updating what the Robinhood Gold method got me. 410,000 Hilton points for a $50 annual fee. So I think we can derive some things for this. I think you can say, for the purposes of earnings, and I realize the annual fees get you other benefits, which you might take great advantage of, which Luke and others pointed out. But for the purposes of earning, even if you have the Hilton cards or Amex cards for other reasons, maybe you love the coupon book, maybe you love your Dunkin' Donuts credit, you should still be putting the spend on those no annual fee type 5%er type cards mostly, or even 3% of Robinhood Gold, something like that. If you got the old version of the US Bank Smartly card before they nerfed it for at least the next year-ish, use that. Now here's Doug the Judge down at the bottom saying, how about just the Surpass? Right now I already have the Surpass, and because of my travel style, I don't really stay at resorts. I'm staying next to waterfalls in West Virginia. I'm staying in rural parts of Wales, those kind of things. So I'm not so much going to Lisbon, Portugal, although I might a little bit. I mean, Vienna, Austria probably has at least one resort somewhere nearby, but I like staying in, the downtown. If I'm going to go to a rural place, I'm going to stay in a cabin or something like that. If I'm going to go to a city, I want to be right downtown in like the Chentrick or the Doubletree or something like that, even a Hampton Inn. So I think the Surpass is a good fit, a better fit for me. So I could do a breakdown of all the Hilton cards and what combos to use them in, whether I get 2 Aspires and 2 FNCs, but we would be here for 7 hours if I did that. So let's just use my use case. All I can do is speak to me. If I just get the Surpass, the math says there's no point in putting any spend on it unless you're going for the free night certificate. I'm not going to break that down. If you could just believe me when I say this year, I'm not going to try for the free night certificate on my Hilton Surpass. The $50 quarterly credit helps to offset the fee, and I'll break that down in terms of how I think I should value it. So I do want the gold status for food and 5th night free. So as Uncle Luke mentioned and others mentioned, the free food alone could be hundreds, if not thousands. You have to have some sort of Hilton status, silver or higher, to take advantage of 5th night free. Not that I'm using it a lot, but I'll use it at least a little. We used it at the Embassy Suites last year. I don't find the Hilton Honors card, the no annual fee one, to be compelling enough, so I'm going to want to get the gold status anyway. So I think the Surpass card does 2 things. It unlocks the ability for 5th night free, and it gets you free food. You might get some free upgrades. Not really sure how to quantify that. So let's go for a blended strategy here. I think Texas Dog mentioned something of a hybrid. Cashback for the spend, Surpass for the benefits. I didn't show a picture of every cashback card, but we've kind of got our foundation of the Surpass, then we're going to put cashback on top of it. So we've got a $150 annual fee on my Hilton Surpass card. We've got a $50 annual fee on the Robinhood Gold. That's $200 in annual fees. Gold meals, I'm going to say, are worth equal to or more than $90. That's ultra conservative. Luke would probably say that's not just ultra conservative. That's like drinking milk on an airplane conservative. And I'm basing that on this. So last fall, when I went to see the grave of Abraham Lincoln, I stayed at a DoubleTree in Springfield, Illinois. And as Robert and someone else mentioned, it had 2 names on the reservation, even though I was the only one there. So they gave me $30 a day in food and beverage credits. I stayed 3 days. I got $90 worth of food and beverage, and I did max it out. So saving $90 on meals at a bare minimum, even if all I do is stay in a DoubleTree once a year. And when I'm looking at my upcoming stays, they're all places that aren't like Hampton. So they don't have free food built in. You need some sort of status to get the free food. We're staying at, I don't remember if it's a Garden Inn or a DoubleTree, one of the two, in the outskirts of Manchester, United Kingdom. So the gold status will come in handy there. And we're staying at a Hilton branded Hilton in Vienna, Austria. So that'll come in handy there. So even if I use my ultra conservative valuation, I get that. $200 in credits. How do you value the $200 in credits? It's hard to say. I'm going to value it at half because, like I said, if I just go to the downtown Hilton in Des Moines and buy a meal, I'd spend $30 on a meal that I would pay $15 for. So I'm going to say I'm going to value the quarterly credits doled out in $50 increments at a total of $100 in value. And then I factor in that $90. We've got 200 minus 90 minus 100. I'm paying a net annual fee of $10. So I think a $10 net annual fee for all of this put together is definitely worthwhile. All right. Now, like I said, the assess category is the longest one with a bullet. So we're going to move on to tailoring, and this will be very brief. We're getting kind of close to the end here, but let's catch up on comments. Cashback is not as sexy. Ricky C says sexy is important when it comes to cashback. Dennis says my cashback I put into my Fidelity account. That could be a goal also. So you don't even have to travel. Maybe one of your goals is just to retire early. Texas Dog says, I agree. The prestige of lounges and glamour of travel is more sexy than 5% cash back. What's sometimes ironic is if you're going to be if you're like me and you're only taking maybe a once a year international business class flight, you're going to get the lounge access anyway. Edgar Crespo, haven't seen you in a while, Edgar. How you doing? Says, if you get Discover It miles in 1 year, you'll get 3% in year 1 with a match, and you and your wife can cycle each year to get 3% forever. Oh, without having to bother getting the Robinhood Gold. That's a good strategy. The cool thing about this is it also applies to IHG. The cool thing about what? I know this is a late comment. The buying in at half cent per point. Yeah, it sure does. I mean, that's the best way to get IHG points is to buy them. Rodrigo says, I'm late. Are you jumping on that 6% customized cash rewards offer from Bank of America? I'm not, because I'm trying to protect my 524 like a devil here. Ricky says, I don't love Dunkin' Donuts, but maybe others love it. Well, you could get the ice cream, Blue Bunny, Blue Ribbon, Baskin Robbins, 31 flavors. Oh, very next comment. Texas Dog. The credit also works at Baskin Robbins. QC Man says, Dunkin' sells water and juices as well, so you could buy that if you're not a coffee or donut person, though I'd still recommend stashing the $7 in the app for later use. If it's anything like Hilton, they way overcharge. I've got a $3 Kit Kat, regular size, in my drawer to prove it. Luke says, I love this video. I've oftentimes wondered how an all Hilton setup would land, especially for a lad that can pay cash for domestic economy flights. Great. Thanks, Luke. I appreciate it. Ricky C says, thanks for the tip. I don't like Baskin Robbins, but my family does. Awesome. Hey, we're back up to 73. Keep dropping your 99-cent stickers and smashing thumbs up if you haven't already done so. All right, so here's me and my armor ready to go out and do Battle Royale in the world of points and miles. I've got my whole pantheon of credit cards. So I need to tailor my earning to my spend. So now we need to remember that I have 3 other goals too. I either have to save some of my spend for them or abandon one or more of those goals. So just to remember, there's 4 goals. There's domestic flights, there's Hilton, there's boutique hotels, and then there's rental cars. So I can't actually do the math. I find it helpful to do the math on all your spend because it then helps you identify where the strong points are. Which category should be devoted to cash back for Hilton? Well, as we look at the whole pantheon here, I think it's pretty obvious that the 5Xers are the good ones. So we've got 5X on dining, Amazon. I'll break this down more on the next screen. I like these for Hilton particularly. Now, I wanted to do blue for Hilton, but because my background's already blue, I had to use this kind of teal color. So the teal lines are the ones I like for Hilton because I feel like now that we know we're using cash back, this is where cash back shines in places where you don't have as good of options with your other things you're going to do. So, for example, dining 5% on my PayPal debit. Yes, sir. I think that applies perfectly. I can buy a lot of Hilton points with $250. Amazon on the Amazon card. Yep, that makes sense. What's the best Hilton card to use on Amazon? It's the Amazon card issued by Chase. Walmart, if I do get the Robinhood Gold, or maybe I use that Discover doubling to 3% trick that someone mentioned, $300. Yep, that sounds like a good choice. And then using my US Bank Cash Plus for utilities. Yep, that makes sense too. So this is where it shines. Now over here, I put maybe half of everything else because I got to save some of my everything else for the other categories. But, like maybe I could devote some of it to Hilton, some of it not. Now, the great thing about cash back is you can just keep it in your savings account or your money market account or however you keep your relatively conservative cash. I recommend having an account specifically for your cash travel. I use Charles Schwab. I have 2 accounts. One is like a long-term savings / emergency fund, and the other one is actually called travel savings account. And I put it in there. Standard run-of-the-mill, I think it's SWVXX money market fund. So, and I just pull money out there whenever I need to pay for travel. So just stick it in your travel savings account, and then you can decide, I'm going to use this much for Hilton and not this much. But just for the sake of doing a breakdown here, let's say half of that everything else category. So here's my gut feeling for what I will save for my other goals, the earning categories. So P, pick, A, assess, T, tailor. So I'm tailoring now. We're on the tailoring step. Gas, $4,000 a year. So I can use the US Bank Altitude Reserve, and that would work well for things like boutique hotels, as long as it's over $150. It would work on cheap flights. It would work on all of these. My Freedom Flex, when gas is a rotating category, it's not always, but usually at least once a year, you can get gas with the Freedom Flex, or at least every other year. And I could use boutique hotels through the Chase portal. I could do flights, maybe rental cars. That's a little trickier. I could use just plain my Wells Fargo autograph because remember, I have the unique combination of the autograph card, which earns 3X, and the grandfathered Golden Ponies card, calling Filmo. And functionally, that gives me 1.5x on flight. So I'd be earning the equivalent of 4.5% cash back on gas with flights if I use the autograph. And then my Wyndham card, you're not always going to have boutique hotels that are Vacasa's where you want to go, but sometimes you will. So my 8x on my Wyndham Earner business card could apply. But I think I've got enough options. I'm going to save gas for these 3 categories. Grocery, again, US Bank Altitude Reserve. All the grocery stores in my area take tap to pay, every single one of them. The Freedom Flex, well, grocery is a category there almost every year. And boy, did I max that out first quarter. I have 4 cards, $1,500 in spend each. That's $6,000 in spend times 5, 30,000 points that I can use towards flights or boutique hotels that are in the portal. I know I'm going to have to do some breakdown in the future on what's the best way to book boutique hotels, but we'll save that for another episode. And then I really want to get the Capital One Duo and bring in the Saver, which I could use on grocery. And maybe that would work for rental cars because I'm using their $300 credit on my Venture X, which I don't have right now, but plan to upgrade to. There's options there. Telecom, this one's easy. It's going to be the Chase Inc. Cash, and I can use that for portal stuff or transferring to United, or maybe like transfer to Aeroplan, then use that to book a cheap United flight. So telecom is always going to be safe for the Inc. Cash. Everything else, let's say I can put half on tap to pay. I'm going to save half for my Altitude Reserve, My Freedom Flex is going to carve out a little bit for pharmacy, at least 1,000 or 2,000 of that is pharmacy. So I'm going to be using some on everything else. So these are the things I don't want to save for Hilton. I think I can get a better effectual value on something else. So I'll come back to comments, I promise, but I do need to get through this section here. So here's the tentative Hilton slice. If you think of it like a pizza, here's the part that I'm going to slice off for Hilton. Dining at 5%, which comes out to $250. Amazon at 5%, which comes out to $200. Walmart at 3%, which comes out to $300. Half of everything else, which is $12,500 at 3%, which comes out to $375. And the full utilities at 5%, which comes out to $200. Adding that all together, that's $1,325 in cash back on everyday spend. And that buys 265,000 Hilton points. I meant to get an example, but some of the places I've been looking at for places I might want to go in the future tend to run kind of in that $50,000, $60,000 range. Excuse me. 50 to 60,000 Hilton point per night range. So if I take 265 and divide it by, I'll average 55,000. If I was traveling just me or just me and the wife, that'd be almost 8 stays per year. If I was traveling so that I need 2 rooms, that would be like 2.5 stays a year. Excuse me. It's not a Dugroz Reports live stream without a traditional coughing fit, is it? And of course, I'm still going to be going for sign-up bonuses. So I'm going to be maybe transferring some points from Amex now and then. So I don't have to be limited to just 265,000. I can bump that up to 300,000, 400,000, 500,000. But this is a smart way to match my goals with Hilton stays. Catching up on comments, then we'll be pretty close to wrapping up the theme of the day here. Where were we? Texas apologized for the typos. That's okay. No problem whatsoever. Clairvoyant says, why would you use your PayPal for dining over Walmart? Your spend is higher at Walmart. That's a great point, Clairvoyant. I suppose I would have to decide if I want... It depends on how realistic I want to be. I'm going to be very candid here. I want to always be working on a sign-up bonus, so this is more hypothetical than real. The real would be some squishing merger of the two. I almost always put my Amazon and Walmart spend towards whatever card is the sign-up bonus, or like right now I'm doing some 0% interest arbitrage, and my Walmart spend is going on a 0% interest card right now. So that's why in real life I'm not putting my Walmart spend on PayPal. But in a hypothetical world where I was 100% committed to gardening, no new cards ever, you're right. That would make a lot more sense. Ricky loves the Dugroz night of the credit card picture. That was back around the beginning of the year. You can find a video with that exact picture. It was like, what's in my war chest or something like that. Edgar says, split non-category spend and give 15 to the Surpass for the FNC and the rest of the Robinhood Gold card. I could consider that future year. Right now, I'm not going for FNC, but in the future, I might want to. Luke says, Taylor or Taylor? Is this some sort of typo for the boy? Are you doing some type of boys trip? Or are you a Swiftie? Luke, this was like 11:30 last night. You're right. It's Tailor, not Taylor. I've got a friend from church named Taylor, a guy, so he spells it with the Y. Oops. Ricky C says, have you done a retention call in the US bar now that it's closed to applicants? I need to call and see if they'll give me one. No, my last one was in February, so go back and find that video. The world may never know on the boys' trip. Texas says, I may have been mum on that, but yes, it should be Taylor with an I. Luke says, I think Doug just leaked the next James Bond, Taylor something or another. I don't get that, but that's all right. Telecom on the autograph is at 3x. That's good to know. Jay Chains is still liking the math. I appreciate it. Ricky C says, I didn't know one could buy Hilton points with Amazon rewards. Not exactly. So the Amazon card is a cash back card. So you just cash out and then use the money you cashed out to buy the Hilton points. Ricky says Amazon is legit cash back. Ricky says, I just used the Amazon cash to buy more niceties for the house or family. I bought some smoke detectors recently. Some advice here, Ricky, don't do that. Instead, cash out the cash, buy it on your Amazon card, and then use that to pay off your Amazon card. Why? Because when you use your points directly on Amazon, you're not getting any points on the spending. So you could have earned 5% cash back on the $80, which is what, $4? So by applying it to an Amazon purchase, you're losing out on that $4. Hopefully that made sense. If not, ask me offline. Rodrigo says, how many Amex points did you end up transferring to Alaska? None yet, Rodrigo. I've got till the end of next month. Clairvoyant said, I did a retention call for my mother. This must be U.S. Bank. And yes, it worked. Happy Tom says, not sure what's going on. I can't super chat. Oh, sorry. QC Man says, how many points did you or she get for the U.S. Bank Altitude Reserve? Hey, Happy Tom dropped $2.90. Thanks for a great breakdown. Glad you figured it out, Happy Tom. Celebrate, celebrate. Thank you. We've still got a little bit of the theme of the day to go here. We're not quite done. Texas Dog says, I missed his celebration. Thank you for letting me know. Let me go back and pick up on that. There we are. Texas Dog, $1.99. Thanks for a great show. Thanks for a great show. Celebrate, celebrate. Thank you, Texas Dog and Tom. Both of you. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Austin says the Amazon card cashback goes into a checking or savings account. Yep. Ricky says, thanks, Luke. I've watched you for a while, but never found out why they started calling you Uncle Luke. I'll be honest. I don't know either. So maybe you can fill us in. 10K was the retention offer on the Altitude Reserve for Clairvoyant's mom. Your mom. That's the same as what I got last time, too. Yeah, and it only took 3 or 4 minutes. And it would have been less if I hadn't asked so many questions. All right, let's finish up the path method here. So here's the summary and takeaway for the path method and how that applies to my Hilton desires. First thing that's just completely obvious. I should use cash back for buying my Hilton points. Don't put the spend on my Surpass. Don't go out and get the Aspire just for spending. Now, if there's other reasons, I don't think it applies to me. Yes, absolutely. But for the but basically, these are sock drawer cards big time. In fact, I've got a few small purchases going on my Hilton Honors card right now, and I'm realizing that's dumb. Even like, I think if I give super chats and put on this card, it counts as 4 points per dollar. But if I just put it on like my Wells Fargo Signify and earn 2% cash back, and then wait till there's a transfer bonus, I'm getting at least 4.5 Hilton points per dollar instead of just 4. So I need to stop spending on my Hilton card altogether. Unless you're going for that FNC. Keep the Surpass for the benefits, but not the spending. The food and beverage, which I bet this year I'm going to surpass at $90 easily. I'll have to remember to say that in my video where I break it down. I surpassed more than $100 in benefits. Consider the Robinhood Gold. Actually, this exercise made me really think about that. I know somebody said the Discover thing, but it'd be kind of nice just to always have it and not have to worry about it. Now, one might wonder, will they nerf it eventually? I don't know. I'm considering it. I don't want to blow my 524 space, but maybe I would consider it for Mrs. Dugroz. If there was a sign-up bonus, even a small one, I would get it. And then lastly, the best target for my Hilton spend is the 5% special cards on things like dining and utilities. So those things where I can get 5% cash back, but I can't get 5x per dollar. Now, if I had the grandfathered City Prestige card, I'd be using that on my dining all day long, but I can't. Bottom line is I should be like Uncle Luke when it comes to Hilton. Just get a bunch of 5% no annual fee cards, use that for quite a few things, and then buy your Hilton points. And then path, we had P was pick, A was assess, T was, oh, holy cow, I forgot my own thing. Path, P-A-T, target, Taylor Swift. And then H is harvest. This one's the easiest one. I can't really fully harvest until I know what my other goals require. So I have to work through my other 4 goals. Those will be future live streams before I can start harvesting fully. But in the meantime, I shouldn't be scared of cash back. I think keep using my PayPal debit card, keep using my US Bank Cash Plus, consider 3%, but be okay with 2% in some cases. Any place where I can get like cash back. I got my 3X on my autograph for gas. Not a bad idea. That's it. That's the last screen. Theme of the day is now concluded. Thank you to everyone who hung in there. We're coming up on 12 o'clock, but not quite there. Let me catch up on comments, and then I will do my community tab questions. Okay, Ricky C says, thanks, Dugroz. Maybe I have the Amazon Prime Visa card. Is that the same one you have in the presentation? Yes, it is. It's a card that I used to have. You can read that at your convenience. Texas Dog says, I have 4 sock drawer cards. 3 are Marriott, 1 is IHG. Ricky C says, I love the card, but still offers some benefits. It was my first card for the credit card points adventures. That must be the US Bank Altitude Reserve. Texas Dog says, it's close to lunchtime. Doug is suffering from low blood sugar. I might be. Yeah, I might be. What record is on the record player today? That is... Oh, that's very well copyrighted, so I can't use that. I'm going to have to break out my generic copyright-free music, and while I'm doing that, we're going to take what we sometimes call the biology break, or sometimes we call it intermission, because I need to use the bathroom. And then I'm going to come back. So those of you who are watching, if you would be willing, please just watch the screen. If you get an ad, just let it play. This will be at least 2 minutes. Otherwise, again, tell me what your favorite aspect of what you've seen so far today was, and which of the 3 other goals, boutique hotels, rental cars, and flexible domestic flights, you're looking forward to. Be right back. I'm back. Thanks for your patience, everyone. By the way, when I was in the bathroom, I looked in the mirror and my collar was like half popped, like Fozzie. Was it that way the whole time? I hope not. Hopefully it's just because I leaned over to blow my nose or something like that. There we go. That's better. Okay. quick asthma break, and then we'll get back into it here. QC Man asks, what card are you trying to get from Chase, Doug? Is the Marriott card to eventually get the Ritz or something else? That's it exactly. Probably the Bonvoy Chase card, but any of the personal Chase cards over on any of the personal Marriott cards on the Chase side that will get me to the Ritz eventually. And I realize with what's happening with the CSR, a lot of people are speculating the Ritz card will change or go away altogether. And if it does, it does. But I want to at least start getting it. I have to wait until like June 3rd to apply. Then I'll be under 524. Ricky liked the wait on hold music. Oh, I'm glad. That one was called Into Space. I feel like I'm in an elevator, says Edgar Crespo. And then Ricky says the elevator of discovery and exploration. Just sleepy, says Ricky. Brian says Fonzie. Fozzie was a bear. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm the Fonz. QC Man says, assuming you can use all 5 free night awards in a year, is there an argument for the current Bonvoy Boundless 3 free night certificate plus 50K points being better than the 5 free night sub when it comes back around? I'll be honest, QC Man, I don't know. I would be a little bit scared to get 5 free night awards and then try to use them all within the first year, unless you knew you were crafting a trip around that. And if you are, more power to you, but I just don't know if that would be ideal for me in particular. All right, let's get into the community tab questions. For those of you who don't know, every Friday, somewhere between roughly 3 o'clock and 7 o'clock p.m., I will share a picture over on YouTube, and you can guess where the picture was taken, but you can also ask me anything. Here's the picture today. It looks like I'm standing in front of like a Masonic lodge. There's a flagpole and a stone thing. So you can guess where this picture was taken, and you can ask me anything. Before anybody gets into it, no, I'm not a Mason, although I do really love the episode of The Simpsons where he joins a secret society. I think they call it the Stone Cutters. All right, let's see what we got here for the community tab questions. Keep clicking thumbs up. Please making your little donations. That just drives more and more people in to watch, which I really appreciate here. All right. Question number 1 comes from Andrew Beach, also known as PDX Beach. Under what circumstance would you be okay with flying economy versus business class for a bucket list trip? Not very many. I'm going to fly premium economy on Virgin from New York to Manchester, United Kingdom this summer. I'll let you know how that goes and if I can settle for anything equal to or less than that. I'm just not sure. The idea of like flying to Japan or flying to Australia on economy sounds like it would be torture to me. Texas Dog says, this was a good show. I enjoyed it, and drops a $4.99 super chat. That's in addition to your prior super chat. Thank you, Dog. Celebrate, celebrate. I really, really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Gold Homer says, who makes Steve Gutenberg a star? We do. We do. If you know the reference, you know the reference. Budget Travel Retirement says, great stream today. Thank you. I don't know if we've met before. Glad to have you on board, Budget Travel. Appreciate that. Budget Retirement Travel, excuse me. Next question is from Matt Heron and asks this. CSR speculation station. If the Chase Sapphire Reserve loses its 3% travel category, what's the replacement for transit type charges? Also assuming this is a Chase wide change, so the CSP has restricted travel too, and the Aeroplan card pay yourself back gets restricted travel definitions to exclude transit ferries, boats, etc. Oh, okay. Well, one of my first instincts would have been the Aeroplan card. I personally don't think that would happen. I think even though they're saying 1X, I think the behind the scenes coding will still know. But I'll go with your rules of presumption here. So I can't use basically any of the UR earning cards. I can't use Aeroplan. Thought number 1 is Autograph. Who are we kidding? This is going to be the answer. Thought number 2 is Amex Green. If you squint just enough and have player 2 that needs slash could use clear. The math almost works. And number 3 is Bank of America CC. Bank of America does specify in the fine print museums include transit, that travel includes transit museums, dolphinariums, and such. It's not transferable, but somewhere between 3 and 5.25% cash back is respectable. 4 daily categories. Who has time for that? It's on to the next sub. Number 5, something else. Your first instinct was correct. So if we lose 3% travel on everything Chase, I think the autograph from Wells Fargo is the right choice. I've looked at the green card from Amex a few times. Other than first year, it just doesn't really trip my trigger. I'm not doing that much paid travel, so it's really hard to justify that annual fee. I don't think I travel enough that clears a must-have for me, so the no annual fee autograph is the way to go, especially since I have that Golden Ponies card and can use it like the portal with the reserve. So that's it. That's what I'm going with, the autograph card. Jazz Fan also adds, the Wells Fargo autograph Journey has 3% travel, assuming you're willing to earn their points. The autograph has transit. The autograph Journey does not. So they'll both get you 3x on travel that's not airplanes and hotels, which I don't know. What would that be other than like cruise lines, rental cars, I guess. But transits like subways, ferries, trains, that kind of stuff, you have to go with the autograph. QC Man 2000 says, I was about to ask if you were a member of the Stonecutters Club. You beat me to it. Sam says, if you fly to Japan, don't forget Japan or you can't cook. Gold Homer says, I have the preferred and I'm thinking of upgrading to the reserve to lock in that $550 annual fee and use the $300 travel credit fast. Good plan. Any guess when they will up the fee on the CSR? I don't know. August, September, that's a wild guess. But yeah, getting it now while you have the lower annual fee, but you'll get the benefits does sound like a good idea. It's a risk because everything so far is just a rumor. Rodrigo says, if CSR other travel goes to 1x, it becomes more like a sock drawer card. To a degree. I don't know that it would change my behavior that much. Ricky C says, thank you, Dugroz. I'm glad I made it to one of your live streams. I bid you a good day, Knight of Cards. Thanks, Ricky. I appreciate that. Next question is from Panda FPV. What kind of credit cards are offered to people who become 33rd degree Freemasons? Well, the answer is, of course, I can't tell you or I'd have to kill you. Sorry. Good question. J Chains 0, who was on board, says, thoughts on the new no annual fee city strata card. Does this change your roadmap with the Premier? How does it compare to the Wells Fargo autograph? We kind of talked about this earlier. You know, frankly, it's not as good. Let me see if I can find that screen here. Big and Eyes, here's the details from Frequent Miler. All right, so you'll be forcibly product changed starting July 20th. The welcome offer will begin at 30K points. I'm going to ignore the welcome offer for the time being. 5X in their portal, who cares? 3X at supermarkets, meh. Now, I'm assuming this will let you cash out fully at 1 cent per point. We don't even know that yet. Transit gas and your choice. It's just not an exciting card for someone that already has other cards. It's only a decent card if it's like, let's say you only want cash back and you're only willing to do 2 cards. You want them with the same issuer. This card plus the custom cash would actually be a fairly good combo for an average Joe or a normie, but not for most of us. So yeah, I don't really like it. How does it change my roadmap with the Premier? Do you mean the City Strata Premier? I downgraded that card to another custom cash. I don't even have it anymore. So like I said, I'm just waiting to see what City does by the end of the year, and then I'll make a decision. Already read that. Robert says, the admission of transit on the Journey is a deal breaker for me as a keeper. I might farm it for the sub and transfer to choice. Yeah, it does seem weird that they don't have that one, but if you had that one combined with the autograph, you'd get what you need. QC Man asked this, is your Chase Sapphire Reserve annual fee coming up soon so you could lock in the $550 annual fee? I think it falls like right in the middle of the summer, like late July. So who knows? We'll find out. Robert says rumors are usually free and laughs. You know, QC Man, usually if they increase the annual fee, they give new people at least like a 3-month warning. So I'm hoping that's the case. May, June, July, August. Oh boy, I'm like right on the border. I think I'll be okay, but I can't guarantee it. Next question. This is from Flying Turtles number 8 and asks this. If you needed a new card and you hadn't had the Amex charge cards before, are you applying for the 40K green, applying for the gold, or potentially waiting for the refresh green, applying for something else while you wait? That's a good question. Flying Turtles, I personally have never had the personal platinum, the personal gold, or the personal green. My wife has had the gold and the platinum. So now that they have family language, yeah, I'm going to start with the green pretty much no matter what. I'm ready to play the long game on those. I've had the business green. I've had the business platinum. I've had the business gold, but I've never had the personal green, personal gold, or personal platinum with Amex. So yeah, I'm going to hopefully wait for one of two things, either a refresh on the green or an enhanced sign-up bonus. Sometimes with targeted stuff, you can find, I've heard, I don't know if this is true, 60 and even rarely 70,000 points on the regular green by playing with incognito windows and those kind of things. So that's what I would do. I would wait for the green in some form. QC Man says they nerfed the point markup and the 10% point rebate on the old Rewards Plus. Yep, we covered that very early in the episode. I don't think you were on board yet. That was one of the first data points. So you can go back and watch that at your convenience. Ron Byrne, who is or was on board, wave if you're here, Robert. Ron says, would you ever try the Belly Buster Challenge at Bebop's restaurant? I'm going to have to Google that. I don't know what it is. I asked in the comments if he knew what it was. He just said it's a really large meal at the Grimes Bebop. Grimes is a suburb of Des Moines. Bebop Belly Buster. All right, we're going to all find out together here what this is. The Bebop's Belly Buster. Bebop's is a fast food place that's drive-in only, or you can eat outside. It's kind of like a Sonic, but a little nicer. Beat the Belly Buster. Grimes location, Monday and Tuesday only, 2, 3, and 4 p.m. All right, rules. The contestants have 30 minutes to finish, 4 double bacon cheeseburger with all the toppings, 2 large fries, a large chocolate shake, a large soft drink of their choosing, 1 2-ounce shot of ranch dressing. This must be eaten last. Oh. The cost to enter is $50. You pay up front. Winners will receive the meal free, a limited edition Bebop's t-shirt, a Bebop's gift card, and their picture on Bebop's social media. You must be 18. No leaving the table for any reason. Do so ends the challenge immediately. Grimes location only. You arrive 20 minutes in advance. That's crazy. No, I would not do that. If I ate 4 bacon cheeseburgers, 2 large fries, a large shake, and a shot of ranch all in less than a half hour, I would throw up so hard and be miserable for 2 days. So absolutely not. I think the burger looks great. The fries look great, but I'm not a glutton for that kind of punishment. Brian Jackson says, mayo, I'm out. Yeah, Brian, I know you don't like any sort of sauce that is white, yellow, or creamy. New Again says, the new strata will transfer out to your thank you points, but thank you points cash back is no longer 1 cent per point. That's also true. QC Man said, this is a challenge for boys between 17 and 21. I'd die if I tried it. Yeah, when I was like 21, 22, maybe. Don Kim says, what about vegan fried chicken? Don't think that's an option for the Bebop's challenge. Sorry about that. Back to the picture here. Nobody has guessed where this is yet. You can put it in the comments. It doesn't have to be in the community tab. Whoever gets there first. Too Easy asked this question. Has your credit card roadmap changed, or are you still waiting to go under 524 for that Marriott card? It has not changed. I'm still going for that. I want to head down the path to the JP Morgan card, the Ritz-Carlton card, not the JP Morgan. I don't have enough currency for that. I'm going to head down the path to the Ritz-Carlton. I know it'll take more than a year measuring from June, but I figure one of 3 things is going to happen. Thing number 1 is the card is going to be unchanged, and I'll be glad to have it. It'll take the place of what I normally do at the CSR. Thing number 2 is it will improve for the better, in which case I'll be glad that I did it. I had that option open. Option number 3 is it goes away or gets worse. And at least I had a fun journey if it's number 3. I got a sign-up bonus on a Marriott card and some free nights and stuff. LH Finances asked the next question. Chase or Amex offers, do you utilize them much? Not much. I'm not somebody that sits around and tailors my spend around it. Taylor, Tailor. There was a time where I was really into Chase offers, and if it was like 5% off at McDonald's, I'd make sure I went to McDonald's. I was like, this is dumb. I'm just angering myself. If I'm glancing at something I like, I had one at McDonald's a few days ago that was like 3% cash back up to $100. And I was like, I got to maximize this for some time. Like, nah, I'll just put it on there, whatever the next time is. So after my boys' school concert, we stopped at McDonald's and bought some shakes, and it was like $20. And I got, I don't know, $1.50 in cash back or something like that. It was fine. So I use it occasionally. When I bought flowers for my wife and my mom for Mother's Day, I used a couple cash back offers. That was pretty good. But not a lot, just now and then. I still haven't gotten my $40 back at Christian Brothers. I have a theory that Wells Fargo only applies Wells Fargo offers to your personal cards and not business cards. So let me know if anyone else has data points on that. JazzFan27 asked a question that I'm going to have a hard time with, so maybe somebody else can help me out here. I would like to take my fiance to the Maldives or Bora Bora for a honeymoon in the summer of 2026. What I want to know is what would be a good plan for accumulating points. Can I book an overwater bungalow from Chase with points, or is there never any availability this far out? What airline program should I focus on accumulating points? Should I focus on booking the flight first, then fill in with whatever hotel I can afford? Or book the hotel first and whatever flight deal I can find? I'm new to luxury travel, so any advice would be appreciated. I currently have a Venture X. All the points are gone. Southwest personal card. CSP with 70K. Working on Player 2 CSP for 100K. Next card will be Southwest business card to earn the companion pass. I'm open to any direction. Well, thank you so much, Jazz Fan. I really appreciate you entrusting me with that question. If you're newer to the channel, that's okay. You probably don't know then that I often talk about how like the Maldives and Bora Bora are the two trips I'm least likely to take in the near future. Someday with my wife when I'm in my 60s, we'll go. But right now with two teenage boys, that's not a good fit. Great honeymoon choice, not a family vacation. So I know very little about it. In terms of booking an overwater bungalow with Chase, I have no idea. I think Hilton's are a good choice. You might want to use some cash back cards to buy points like I detailed earlier in the program. I don't know which airline program is best for that. I have no idea. And in terms of flight first or hotel first, I would focus on booking the flight first, especially if you can be flexible with when your honeymoon is. I don't know if you can be or not, but let's say for the whole summer into fall of 2026, there might be like 3 days that you can get decent business class flights to get close to the Maldives and then take your seaplane and all that. So I would do the flights, figure out the date first, then concentrate on the hotel. Fargonaut has arrived. How you doing, Fargonaut? Also a channel member. Thanks for the info. Don Kim guesses Masonic Temple. Yep, that's a true statement. I'm not focused on the background, focused on the foreground. So the flagpole, the stone, and then what town, city, state, county is this in? That's what I'm wanting you to guess here. QC Man says US Bank and Chase offers tend to be very similar. Robert suggests that Jazz Fan watches the channel Ask Sebi to get Bora Bora instructions. QC Man asks if this is Martin Van Buren's Masonic Temple. Nope, but good idea. Ian says for Maldives or Bora Bora, you'll need over 1 million points and you'll need them a year out. Weston and St. Regis are the best in Bora Bora. Hilton is the cheapest, easiest. It's rare they look you book into an overwater, though. Thank you for the info. Chambe Halalase says, good morning, Mr. Dugroz and everyone here. Still morning in Seattle. Thanks for being here, Chambe. And then Don Kim says, tried to help someone plan Bora Bora. They ended up booking through Costco Travel with a Costco card. It worked for him. Thanks, Don. I appreciate that. Next up is a question from Mitch eBay. It's actually EBY, but I'm going to say eBay because I'm not sure that's pronounced. Mitch eBay says, I have a $16,000 tax bill to pay by October, and I'm curious what the best card would be to open for a sub. Over 524 and only non-Chase cards I have are Amex Gold and Citi Custom Cash. Also, I don't have a business or side hustle for business cards. Thanks. Ah, shucks. I was going to suggest a business card. If you could talk yourself into a side hustle, maybe start a YouTube channel, and it's okay to project what you think you'll make, not just what you are making. I would go for the Capital One Business Venture X card. I think that one's great. I think it's $20,000 to get the first tier, and you would be 3/4 of the way to that. I would also think about a Business Platinum from Amex. But otherwise, I would actually go for 2 or 3 cards. Anything, maybe like a Capital One Venture card. You get the equivalent of 3 of those. Get a Capital One Venture and a City Strata Premier, maybe both of those, and then something smaller. Yeah, but if you can't do business cards and you're only looking for one, that's a tough one. What's something that has the biggest sign-up bonus with lots of spend on the personal side? Maybe like Hilton Aspire. What's that sitting at nowadays for spend requirement? Let's just do a Google search together here. 150,000 and you have to spend 6,000. That's not very far. I don't know. Maybe get that and the Surpass both. That'd be some good sign-up bonus opportunities. Good question. If anybody else knows of like, are there any personal cards out there where the spend is over 10K for the sign-up bonus? Let me know. Maybe you can help out Mr. eBay. M2K-01 asked this question. What opinion is the best economy flight sweet spot for overseas flights? I don't know a lot about that, but I'll throw out a couple. I know like Turkish Miles and Smiles is pretty good for certain things within the same region. I know frequent miler guys talked in their last Ask Me Anything about using KLM and Air France Flying Blue for a certain sweet spot. Flying Blue will do like a sweet spot of the month every month or every other month, something like that. And you can't just fly to Amsterdam or Paris. You have to connect on to like Vienna, Austria, or Belgrade, or Murmansk, or something like that, or Göteborg, Sweden. So find one of those, and I think you can do it for maybe around or even under 10,000 points. So I'd say probably Flying Blue. Let me catch up on on-site comments. I only have one comment. QC Man says, I think Jacob's Points and Miles did the Maldives trip with his wife for relatively cheap. So yeah, look up Jacob's Points and Miles. That's a YouTube travel channel that might help you out. Or a Points and Miles channel. RemGB wants to know, what will I do with my Rewards Plus card with the recent complete nerf? I thought they would grandfather the 10% boost. Totally useless without that. Yeah, and I said I was very disappointed to hear it. I might make a halfway decent standalone card, but for those of us that have lots of cards, it's pretty useless. Rem says, I stupidly used up a 524 slot to get it before it was discontinued. The sub was pathetic. I was hoping that grandfather the 10%. Big miscalculation there. Oh, that sucks, RemGB. I'm sorry. I've had mine since 2019, so less of a concern. What am I going to do? That Strata card doesn't do a lot for me because I have so many other cards that do the same thing. So I will probably just sit tight and see what comes up. I might product change back to a third custom cache. Can do some creative spending categories there. Maybe some of the things that we saw earlier with Hilton, like, I don't have a category just for pharmacy or something like that. Maybe use it for something along those lines. Maybe do a little bit of creative gift card buying. I'm not sure. So I do think I will probably transfer my points over to Wyndham, even though it's only 1-to-1 before that goes away, while I can line it up with the current Wyndham transfer bonus. So I've only got like 4,000 city points right now. Probably will have around 9,000 when we hit the end of the current billing period. So I'm going to transfer out, get my 10% bonus before it goes away in July. And then, it doesn't really matter what I do after that. It's just holding a spot until I see what interesting thing City will come up with, hoping their premium card is halfway decent. Ian asks, are you a Freemason? No, I'm not. I wanted to join, but too much cigar smoke and whiskey. And then we both reference Simpsons things. Cesar Joel wants to know, are you keeping the Chase Sapphire Reserve for another year or downgrading? Keep up the great work, Hermano. Thanks, brother. I don't know if I'm keeping the CSR for another year or not. The Chase Sapphire Reserve. I haven't actually decided yet because we don't know for sure what the details are. The devils are in the details, Cesar. If they keep the $300 credit and it's maybe decent on the coupons, yeah, I'll keep at least another year because I have to have a year before I get to the Ritz-Carlton. So yeah, I'll keep it another year. If they totally nerf it, take away the $300 and the coupons aren't as good as they sounded, then I'll get rid of it. So it all depends on the details. The proof is in the pudding, and we'll see what the pudding ends up being. Nobody has guessed the location of the picture thus far, so I'll wait till the end of the presentation to do that. James V waves. He's on board. How you doing, James? A big-time diehard. Robert J says the AAA executive 100,000 for 10K spent in 3 months. Is that supposed to be 2A's American Airlines, or is there actually a AAA card? So yeah, that's something that Mr. eBay might want to look into, is getting the American Airlines card. That would be a good reward. Chambe Halalase says, I have Amex premium card and we are flying Delta Airlines soon. Would you rather add an authorized user to get into Delta Sky Club or apply for a new Delta Gold business or personal card? We're a family of 4. I don't know what the Delta rules are, but let me assume it's kind of like the Venture X where you can get in 2 guests, but as a family of 4, you just need 1 more person. If they don't charge for authorized users, I would do that if it's free. But if it's not free, I would open the new Delta Gold card. I mean, work on a sub, get points. Yeah, awesome. Texas Dog says, all the blood from the sacrificial cow. I'm assuming this is Pylon Ian's comment, like, I can't stand the secret society smoke whiskey and all the blood from the sacrificial cow. Robert clarified, yes, he was talking about an American Airlines card. That'd be a good one to look into. Chambe says, Delta Gold card has free check bags and Amex Platinum has Delta Sky Club benefits and advise. I'm not sure what that last and advise is, but yeah, I don't know much about the gold cards. Is John still on board? He can tell you all about them. My gut feeling is if they don't have free authorized users, just ask player 2 to sign up for the additional Delta Gold card. All right, let's review who is given what. So we're going to wrap up the live stream probably within 5 to 10 minutes here. And then one last chance to guess on the picture. One last chance to comment math if you're watching after the fact. And one last chance to guess where that weird picture was taken and what it is. There's some significance to that plaque. Tom Graber donated a membership. Robert dropped a $2.99 super sticker. Ian dropped a $1.99 super chat. MR had the big give of the day at $9.99. Thank you. Sam gifted a membership. John gave his $2. Very consistent. QC Man celebrated his 14 months of membership. Rex Bleen donated $5. QC Man gifted a membership. Then a few minutes later gifted another membership. Texas Dog gifted $1.99. Happy Tom gifted $2.90. And Texas Dog gifted $4.99. So 2 gifts from Texas Dog. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Again, anything you give, 80% is reinvested into this channel, so I keep doing what I do. And I do put in a fair amount. Each of my live streams takes anywhere from about 1 to 4 hours to prepare. So 20% goes to the Dugroz family. So we've got Mrs. Roz, we've got Ben Roz, Joe Roz, and Deb Roz. We all have names that can easily be abbreviated to 3 letters. Help them out, please. Any advice? I'm sorry, I don't have much advice, Chambe. Texas guesses the pictures in Springfield. Lincoln was a Freemason. I think he was, but nope, that's not where the picture was taken. Well, I might as well give it away here. So this is in, let's see what it was called. Henry Knox something. It was in Albany, New York. I'm going to have to find it here on my map. Give me just a second. You can watch the map with me. Is this it? Nope, that's a cemetery. There, General Henry Knox Cannon Trail marker right here. Okay, so hide the directions. In Albany, New York, just off the main road at the intersection of Purtell and Old Loudon Road, there's this thing called the General Henry Knox Cannon Trail marker. And there's only 1 review on all of Google. Does anybody want to guess who the 1 review is from? Well, hey, that picture looks kind of familiar. It's me. So basically, it's this little stone marker. Back in the Revolutionary War, Henry Knox was one of the generals. And after we, the good guys, America, sorry, Sam, captured Fort Ticonderoga, back in those days, they didn't have trains and stuff. So they had to manually haul like 30 cannons through the dead of winter down from upstate New York to Boston, which basically caused the British to evacuate Boston. So tons of effort caused New York City to be freed from the British, although caused Boston to be freed from the British. They later took control of New York City. The plaque says, through this place passed General Henry Knox in the winter of 1775 into 1776 to deliver to General George Washington at Cambridge, Massachusetts, the train of artillery from Fort Ticonderoga used to force the British Army to evacuate Boston. And this was donated during the sesquicentennial of the Revolution. So that'd be 150 years later. So not 1876, but 1926, I guess, is when that was erected. So it's coming up on 100 years old. So yeah, if you're ever in Albany, New York, check that out. And unless you're a history buff, don't check it out. It's really pretty unexciting. All right, time to catch up there. Nuracan dropped a $1.99 super chat. Celebrate. Thank you, Nuracan. I really appreciate it. It's Jazz fan. Thanks everyone for the feedback on Bora Bora. And then Dennis Dunn says, it's in New York, but I forgot where. Yep, that was in like 2 or 3 live streams ago. It's right there in Albany, or maybe not in Albany. It might be a suburb. Let's see. It's is it Latham? Is that the name of a town? Yeah, it's in the town of Latham, New York, which is apparently a suburb of Albany. Thank you, everyone who joined in. Last chance, please click the thumbs up button. That helps out, and I'll let you go. As always, may your spending be frugal, and may your points be plenteous. Thanks for watching, everyone. Have a great day.